Slayers to Sleighingit.Online's weekly podcast, where sometimes we slay it,
and sometimes we don't.
That's okay. We're not perfect.
We're just gamers.
Hi, everybody, and welcome into this week's podcast. Today, we've got a couple different topics to go over that we desperately want to discuss and want your opinions on. We're also going to be able to take questions from all of you in chat. We are live recording this on Sunday morning. Most of the time it's going to be on Saturday morning, but always will be a weekend recording weekly until we decide we want to end the season. So hello, hi, my name is Red the Deer. I'm a content creator and one of the hosts for this podcast.
I'm just Coughlin. I'm also a host here, but I'm mainly a consumer, if anything.
Yeah, I love that you're on the podcast now. We have two guests with us today. We have Cal. Go ahead and introduce yourself as operations manager.
Hello, everyone. My name is Callistos. Go by Cal. I am so happy to be here and to see what we got going on with this.
And he is the operations manager for SIO. Victoria is our second guest tonight. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, it's Victoria Aurora, and I'm the marketing manager and talents acquisition at Sleighingit.Online.
And I'm very excited about this. So for those that have been a long-time listener for Sometimes Slaying It, we appreciate you. Honestly, we've not made content or a recorded podcast for a very long time, so it's kind of fun to get back into the shape of things. But Vicky used to be my co-host. We are now transitioning over to have Coughlin be my co-host here. So that's going to be a new fun change up. We're going to have different guests on. Vicky will participate when she can, but it's going to be mostly just me and Coughlin just jabbering about all the things going on.
A little busy.
True.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, though, because I remember when you and Vic used to do these all the time. There was a little side project that I guess myself and someone else had. I forgot the guy's name, but we did a couple
Cryos.
a little bit.
Josh.
Yeah. So I'm ready to get started.
Absolutely. The main topic that we are going to discuss today is our seasonal recap for Season 1 in World of Warcraft. For those that don't know, World of Warcraft Retail Midnight is currently ending their first season after, I think it's like been 7-8 months. Game got released in January, and we are in August, so that is a fairly long amount of time for just one season. But Season 1 is coming to a close literally in 2 days on Tuesday, the 11th. And I think overall, we're going to have a lot to discuss about it. So I think we should start with what we thought was good, what we thought was bad, and definitely what was the ugly that we hope that they never do or change to improve upon. So do you guys want to start with the good, about what you guys enjoyed about the podcast or the season?
Sure. Like, one of the things that I wanted to clarify, though, are we talking primarily about the end game, or because it did launch in January, you want to talk? Should we talk about the game as a whole, given how that's technically a part of the first season?
Let's talk about. Let's start with the story, because I think that's some of the most underrated conversational pieces. People never really take into the story when it comes to seasonal content. They always think about the end game stuff, but every season has new story. When we go into the next season, we're going to have a completely different campaign, a completely different storyline with different characters. So I think the introduction to Midnight with all of the zones quest lines, we can rate each one of the zones, talk about what we think each one of them did well, what they didn't do, and then we'll talk about the overarching story and where we think the story is going to go from there. So I think we start with Everson Woods, the introduction zone to Midnight, right? I guess we could talk about the intro scenario. If you guys even remember, you got to rewind your brains a little bit because none of us have done it since then, since it's skippable. But what did you guys think of the intro scenario way back in the day? Vic?
I would have to say, you want to do a round robin on this one?
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to get different perspectives.
Well, I've probably got the least to say, so you can start with me if you'd like. I was very excited for Xal'atath and that whole storyline of kind of having a big bad again, just because I didn't really like what they did last season, where they made like someone that we really liked into a villain, and then took someone we really admired and made him like be mind controlled into being a villain. So having like someone we all just really didn't like was something, it talked to me, because I like Legion a lot, where we all had a big bad, like the Burning Legion. Like that part of the lore of War is kind of my introduction to it. So it felt very nostalgic to me. but it wasn't very faction heavy at the beginning of this expansion. We're in peacetime, so I know that kind of irritates a few people in the community because it's like this is supposed to be a game of war, but yet we're kind of not in it right now. But
so you enjoy the fact that Xalatath has an army force and that there's followers of that army force and that there is a big bad that all of us are uniting against.
I do. I personally do, yeah.
Okay, that's good. I think Xalatath is pretty good. Her perspective prior, she didn't really play a lot of Dragonflight, so she went all the way back to Shadowlands when she was talking about the betrayal of someone getting mind controlled. That was Anduin, and that was her perspective of the storyline there, because Dragonflight had its own sort of big bad storyline, and I thought they did a good job there. But yeah, so the intro scenario here, you get introduced to Xalatath basically sieging the Isle of Quel'Danas, and we're doing everything we can, basically a suicide squad, very similar to Warlords of Draenor, if you remember, where we go to the Isle of Quel'Danas, we rally with the Army of the Light, the Paladins, we try to fight off the Void. Do you remember any of that, Vic?
Yeah, with the Sunwell?
Yeah, like the very intro of the game.
Yeah, that was, I mean, to me, I was like, why don't we just have like a TV show already? Kind of annoyed that there isn't more of that. Like, I remember in Battle for Azeroth, there was so many really beautiful like YouTube videos that they posted and little songs and little, stories between Sylvanas and her sister. I don't know, like I felt like there was more committed to the lore. This season felt the least, because even Dragonflight had stuff.
A bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
For that. Sorry, go for it.
No, you're fine.
No. Okay, yeah. So they had a lot of like background stories surrounding Erator, coming into this specifically.
Right.
So they did have some of these things. It probably wasn't really front and center, but if you're pulling on things from like Shadowlands for what your most recent memory of like how the big bads are, it shows that their marketing isn't really reaching all of their older players.
Very
so
true.
That might be something worth mentioning.
And she's relating to like the She Wants a Television Show, because the intro scenario was very cinematic heavy. So her memory of the intro scenario was very story driven and cinematic driven, which is true. There was actually little participation going on from the actual player in that intro scenario, because every other time you finished a quest, you would get hit with a different sort of cinematic, which was a really cool experience, but it definitely took you out of the player aspect and more of a viewer aspect. And Vicky just, at the end of the day, I think you said you just would really like a television show?
100%. I mean, I love Arcane. I love things like Vox Machina. Like, I love digesting media in that format. So, and I know a lot of gamers I love lore. Like, there is lore of video games I've never even played that I know very intricate details of.
Right.
So it's just like, I don't know. It's just like my genre of lore is that way. Like, I'd rather read the books, I think.
Right.
Yeah, they've had a few. They've had a few over the past expansions. I remember the ones for BFA were very well received.
They were great. Even the Shadowlands books were extremely good. I actually haven't read the Midnight books yet, and I have them on my nightstand. I just haven't picked them up and read them yet. So back to the intro scenario. Cal, what was your opinion? Were you hyped going through it? Do you remember anything particular that was
as an
really
elite
good?
gamer, right? Like, he's the elite like gamer, right? That's who we're talking to. This is Cal.
He's the time restricted gamer, so he has the skill set to be a 1%er. He just doesn't necessarily have the time to commit to the game to be a 1%er. That's his perspective.
I think out of the four of us, I might have been playing this game the longest. I'm not sure about Coughlin, but no, I love the intro. I thought it was very well done. In saying that, I've skipped on every single ult I've done.
Same.
Because I think once is enough. But the one time through, I thought it was very well done. I love the way they integrated the cutscenes. The Erator cutscene I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
In the same vein as the cutscenes, though, I think that I wish they would stick to one type of art style.
Right.
Either they do the more in-game looking cutscenes, which I really enjoy, or they do the more realistic ones. I think having both of them in the same type of quest chain is a little jarring. So I wish they would just stick with one and just go from there.
I agree.
100% agree.
Yeah. 100%.
Consistency.
It is weird when we get like a super high fidelity, extremely outsourced graphical cinematic, and then the very next one is just like super low budget. Your character standing there next to Illyria doing something else. It's super jarring for sure.
Well, even then, like I don't mind that as because they still have the really nice ones, like the ones they have for the new content coming out, where they actually have
Mhm.
facial expressions and all that kind of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still in the more cartoony WoW style,
Yeah.
not the super hyper realistic trailer style.
Yeah.
I don't know though. That Battle for Azeroth one where they're like sieging what's its name is so solid.
But no. That's what he's saying. It's like maybe you could reserve like the higher quality cinematics for maybe things between patches or
Yes,
introduction
yeah,
to
yeah.
expansions,
Yeah.
where you have the more lower quality where you can insert your player character maybe
Yeah.
into it. Like maybe when Eritor like has his little crisis of faith type of thing, you're there with your bad transmog right next to him.
Yeah, they do that in the raid cinematics. No, I mean I feel like
Yeah,
that's
they
kind
do.
of
Yeah,
Yeah. 100%.
right. Those are more. I do think that should be more integrated into like the leveling experience in some sort of way.
And we're seeing it more and more. If you go back and play some of the old stuff, like from Kata and before that, it's kind of funny how you lose so much of the story because it's not either voice lined or acted out.
Right. And it's I feel like with the Eritor cinematic, which is the main one we're talking about here, because that's the one that jumps into high fidelity trailer style graphic.
Right, but listen, we're here for it. Like he's amazing looking. We love it.
He
We're
is,
here
but I
for it.
feel like they could have just put it in the trailer and no one would have cared. They kept it out of the trailer because it was a massive spoiler, but it really didn't spoil anything. If anything, it set
Right.
up us going through the journey of Eritor. Like that could have been a part of the trailer and everyone would have been hype as hell during BlizzCon when they released it.
Well, it didn't necessarily need to be like a story beat as well, right? Like it could just be something as like very environmental where it shows him going through that and it kind of already gives a feeling as like, oh, there's a little bit more going on here than just, light versus dark type of thing.
Right.
Like kind of like in
Yeah.
Shadowlands where it showed the individual leaders just looking out over their kingdoms, if you will.
Right.
And that already gives like
Right.
a sense of like wonder to the individual zones type of thing. So it didn't necessarily need to be a part of it. It could have just been part of the promotional material
I agree.
and it would have been just fine.
So let's go ahead and do a quick smash and pass of all of the leveling experiences. So we'll start off with the intro. Cal, go ahead, smash or pass the intro.
Smash.
Coughlin?
One night stand for sure.
Like a one-time through? Okay. No, yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
That's probably the most true statement. Vic, do you smash or pass the intro?
Didn't you just feel that way about the Odyssey, babe? Like I mean, it's like one of those
Don't
things.
change
like one time,
topics.
it's
No,
like
no, no,
different.
no, no, don't change
Sorry.
topics.
Sorry.
Smash or pass the intro?
I don't know, probably Smash. I mean, I've played this expansion more than I did in Dragonflight. I think because I liked the opening and the introduction to the expansion. So
Right.
I did think it like hooked me or whatever that is in our brain that gets us to be, excited enough about something to like make us feel addicted to it. Like
Right.
it worked on this expansion for me. So
Smash.
Yeah.
Okay, I definitely think Smash as well. From a lore-driven character, someone who was obsessed with the storyline, they did such a good job with all the different sort of stay a while and listen moments, or all the different characters, NPCs that you can interact with during that scenario. So that is a major Smash for me. It is weird that you were able to skip it so early. I think that should have been a 12.05 option, because I haven't done it again since my first character because it is skippable. It makes no sense to do it again when you're just trying to level up a character quickly. And that takes us out of it. When we're given the option, we're going to take it, right? It's the forbidden fruit. I feel like we were missed the opportunity to really dive deeper, get more rares, get more kills, see it into its entirety. You really don't get that until you do it about 3 or 4 times. So being able to skip right away is kind of a pass, but the overall scenario itself is definitely a smash. So moving on, the next storyline that everyone's generally going to pick here is going to be Eversun Woods. Not a lot of cinematics in Eversun Woods besides when you get towards the end, when you're doing a lot of the stuff with the corruption of Tranquillin and the leadership there. That's where most of the cinematics come in. But overall, Eversun Woods remake, what do you think, Cal?
I thought it was good. I mean, really, I think a lot of the zones are done very well for the storyline. But yeah, I agree. It kind of had a slow start. You're kind of like, okay, we saved the Sunwell, now let's go kind of get established here. And then as the zone moves forward, you do kind of pick up steam a little bit, involving, the cultist, and then eventually ending with the Amani incursion and all that. So I thought it was very good. The pacing felt good the first time I went through it, and even now, it's still one of the default zones to kind of go through with alts because it is very efficient.
Yeah,
So
I agree. It is my alt pick choice. I generally only do one zone on an alt, and it has been Eversun Woods almost every time.
it is one of those zones. It kind of pulls all the other zones together because you have a little bit of the Harandar, you have a little bit of the Void, you have a little bit of the Trolls. So it's kind of like a crossroads type zone.
I agree. Yeah, no, it introduces the Light Bloom and the Harandar storyline very well. I think you get a good taste of that before you dive deeper into it later on. Did you enjoy the fact that all of the zones ended in delves?
I thought that was good. It's a little bit more accessible. I mean, a lot of them had the dungeons as well as kind of their capstones, but I did enjoy the fact that the delves actually had a story part into it, and they weren't just kind of like here's a cave, go explore.
Yeah, I agree. Coughlin, anything to add about Eversun Woods?
I would have to say that okay, so let's also get a preface on this because every single zone has their own little reputation, their own little faction, right? Because you have like the little party in Eversong, and you have the the abundance stuff in Zulaman. Like, are we taking those into account with our experience of the zone?
I
in
think
general?
that's more end game seasonal content. We'll get into the
Okay.
end game mechanics eventually. I wouldn't hold that against the questing experience because I think those can be completely separate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would have to say that I did have a great time in Eversong, but I don't know how much of that was carried by, I guess, a little bit of the nostalgia from the Eversong experience from TBC,
Yeah,
right? Like that's still, like, if it was great feeling like, it was almost like what everyone wished, like the prestige system you always hear about, like as a way to like go and revisit the zones at your max level type of thing.
yeah.
And it was nice. And this is the perfect example of that. And it's familiar yet brand new.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the Everbloom stuff. I do find it funny how the Everbloom tended to find itself in places that were already, like, the last time you saw this place, it was covered in Scourge. Now it's covered in Everbloom, and you can't help but think like, oh, these people just can't get a break, can they?
Yeah, the poor little cities that are around. Yeah, very
Right?
true.
So, but no, yeah, I loved the zone. I think the music was probably not as great as the TVC version, but overall, yeah, I had a good time. Every song.
Vic's
Well, it's hard to beat Russell Brower. So
true.
Yeah.
Vic's favorite starting zone is Eversun Woods. Every time that we always make characters on hardcore character shows, I wants to do Blood Elf or go to the Blood Elf zone. So I'm interested to see what you liked of the revamp of that zone, Vic.
Well, that was kind of, I think, one of the things that really, I think, drew me was the fact that they redid a city that I felt like was somewhere that I would spend all of my time if it was just organized a little bit better.
Do you think the changing of the city made it organized better?
Yes.
Okay.
And in my brain, it was way more aesthetically pleasing to want to be in. Like, I felt like Dornagal became somewhere to hang out. And in my mind of an MMO, you know, if you're thinking old school, you know, Orgrimmar and Stormwind were going to be those places. Like, a good hub city to me is very important to an expansion, because I came from playing games like Destiny where you hang out in the tower till your friends got on, and then all your friends got on, and then we get in a party, and then y'all go do something together.
Yeah.
Like, that was my experience with an MMO before joining WoW. WoW was actually not my first MMO I'd played. And I wasn't someone who played at a very young age. I played at a very social adult version of myself.
Right. And so overall, you just think that like the capital city as the hub is pretty good. That helps you enjoy Eversun Woods questing experience more.
100%. I cannot tell you. I don't feel like the old Scourge, like going and questing and getting the bones. Like, I love that version of the game. Because we have quested. I want to say the most we've quested together in the last
for sure
6 years of playing this game
For sure.
have been in that starting zone. or in the Draenei starting zone. That kind of leads me towards liking it more, but I don't miss the old thing because I know the old version of it can still exist in my like mind.
Right.
And if we wanted to revert it, we could and go back and nostalgically play it.
Right.
Um,
I think
but I really enjoyed it. It felt like a new place to me. It didn't feel like even the same place, even though it was. So it didn't feel. I didn't feel like I was losing something nostalgic. It felt like I was getting something better from something I remembered.
I've got a lot to talk about when it comes to Everson Woods, so I'll try to make it pretty quick. But I think overall it is the exact perfect example of how this game needs to move forward. With what they're doing and planning on to do in The Last Titan, where they're reforging and remaking the entirety of Northrend, very similar experience to how Everson Woods was revamped. This entire expansion should have been some part of that. I think they should have overcommitted to the revamping of the zones. I think every zone, every questing experience should have been a revamped zone. Zul'Aman being its own thing was really cool. I think Harandar and Voidstorm should have been later patches, like 12.05, 12.07. And I think the Plague Lands with the Light of the Chapel and Eretar storyline tying into that should have also been completely revamped. And we should have had them as the endgame zones as well, with their own sort of different type of faction. They need to do this more. Absolutely. Everson Woods was a perfect zone. The only thing I wish that they did better was they actually revamped the starting experience as well and created a completely brand new 1 to 10 leveling experience with the revamped Everson Woods. I think what they did with the starting island was cool, and adding the heroes to it was good, but with every single expansion there should be some type of new catch-up mechanic or new leveling up mechanic for brand new players, and that being the new Everson Woods with the new starting area revamped and everything else would have tied in perfectly to the overarching experience of how the world has evolved and how the world has progressed. Everson Woods for me.
So you wanted Tidrashil's starting zone?
I just wanted a new one. I always want new starting zones. I'm just selfish like that. I think that's the best version of the game when you're going through the 1 to 10 experience. That's what Classic is so good. So I think like absolute smash, 100% smash. They actually didn't commit enough for me. Like I wanted to marry smash this zone, and I only get to smash because there's not enough of it. So smash for me. Cal?
Definitely smash.
Coughlin?
Is Silver Moon a part of this?
No, we'll talk about the capital city after, I think.
Okay, all right. Well then, yes, smash for sure.
Vic, for you? Everson Woods questing?
Yeah.
Absolute smash. Okay. Moving on to Zul'Aman, we'll make this nice and brief. I love the storyline. I always love the Loa. That's my favorite version of this game. And I think more of the troll history is going to be important as the game progresses into the primal humanoid storyline that they're trying to go to. Whatever Azeroth's model she takes and stuff, I think will be a troll. So getting more troll experience is always good. My experience in Zul'Aman was very fun. I had a lot of friends going through that zone with me. And I think the Loa they did perfectly with the tie-in with the change of leadership, the direction they want to go, the quarrels with the Blood Elf and the trolls being prominent there. And now we're going to even see that more in this next patch. No spoilers, but there's a lot coming on with the Blood Elf and the troll hatreds and how those are going to get quelled. So overall, Amani or Zul'Aman 100% is a smash for me. Coughlin?
Okay, so I was shocked how much I liked this zone, because I definitely came into it because of that last quest in Eversong with a bad taste in my mouth. Because I'm one of those who wants the Blood Elves and the Amani to still be at each other's throats forever. Like I'm that guy,
Right.
but it's almost as if they just left out the Blood Elves completely from Zul'Aman. This would have been easily the best zone in the expansion for me. Because just the story and exploring the culture in general and going to all the different Loa shrines, etc. And to touch back a little bit on Eversong, like it really was a great experience just riding around on a mount.
Yeah.
Without flying.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Eversong was actually was great for that, and that's something to really be said about these first two zones, is that just riding around on a ground mount was the best experience for this.
I think
except for getting to the top of that one mountain.
The one mountain was impossible. I think it benefits that the original design of Eversun Woods and even the Ghostlands was a ground mount only experience. So they were able to,
Right.
they couldn't advance it enough to where it benefited more from flying, but flying did help, but it was still a good experience on the ground mount. So you just missed out. You wanted more of the conflict between Blood Elves and Trolls.
I would have been okay if the Blood Elves and Trolls did stay at odds with one another, but I would have loved it if the Blood Elves just didn't exist in Zulaman at all, and we just followed the Amani story without Lady Leadrin being there, and then being like, "Oh, we're trying to be friends now." But if we're just focusing on the actual experience of being the Hashe and all that, that was great.
Mm-hmm.
I loved, like I said, I loved interacting with all the different Loas, and I still have the Capybara as my primary Loa in there, with Shadra as my secondary. So it's just a great
I do
experience.
love that feature too, where you get to pick Loa for different boons and benefits. I think that the Lady Leadrin storyline definitely ties to faction identity, right? Because Lady Leadrin has less identified herself as a member of the Horde and has more identified herself as a member of the Army of the Light. And so, therefore, she is going to take action on behalf of the Army of the Light more than on behalf of the Horde, which is why we saw Lady Leadrin there. I don't think that storyline and that character arc was depicted enough. I don't think there was enough like her being at arms or being disruptive to what Lothamar and the Horde want. I think that she was a little bit too much of playing both sides, but I love the overcommitment of the faction decisions. For example, like Lothraxian. Like, we'll get to the Voidstorm here shortly, but that is an exact example of overcommitment to one faction versus allegiances to Alliance or Horde, right? So he doesn't care about Silverman, doesn't care about the Horde. He is purely acting on behalf of the Army of the Light. So his decisions are completely depicted that way. Leadrin's is still kind of like flippy floppy, which is why I think she was there, but I identify Leadrin as more of an Army of the Light member rather than a Horde member. Coughlin, what did you think? Or sorry, Cal, what did you think of Zulaman?
Glorious boons.
I know you love Dune.
Actually, I was a little let down. Reasoning being, I'm not a huge fan of the trolls. I know it's controversial for you. You love your trolls. I'm not a big fan of the trolls. I think they're a little overdone. I think they're a little one-dimensional. Just not a huge fan of them. But I thought the zone flowed very well.
Yeah.
The storyline was okay, although I would have much rather have seen Zoljan or whatever his name is more prominent, and maybe swapped with his sister, whoever it is. I'm just getting tired of all of the females always being the ones in the right, and the males are always the hot-headed idiots. So I was really looking forward to having a replacement for Zul'jin and all that kind of stuff, to have a good, strong, troll leader. Yeah. So I was a little tired of that. So, but other than that, I mean, I thought that the zone was good. The flow felt good. The delves are not my favorite.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Vic, your experience as a very casual gamer, what did you take away from Zulaman?
I would say the Zulaman, to me, obviously felt the most aesthetically pleasing area. Like, I really, really loved being in that area. Questing really, as much as I couldn't like nail down the names of the quests and stuff, but I do feel like it's the one area that I remember the most from. I would say my retention of most of the things in this game are not at the same level as when you guys are talking about stuff. I'm like, can I even think about what that place looks like? Like, it's hard for me to do that. Well, if we were in it, I'd be like, oh yeah, and that's where this guy is, and that's where that guy is. And if I like was physically in the space, like, I'd be like, all of my memories would be jogged of the things that I love about the space.
Yeah.
Because like right now, all I'm envisioning is the hut where you go and you choose what Loa is yours. Sorry, that was just the timer for our 30-minute break, or our 30-minute timer.
Right.
But yeah, I do agree kind of with Cal. I am also kind of sick of, not that the older strong sister shouldn't be, in charge or whatever, but it just feels like, when are we gonna depict men in leadership. Like I feel like with Erator they were trying to show that, but almost didn't want to have a yin to the yang over in the troll area. Kind of didn't make sense to me either. Lore wise, I was like, why wouldn't this be like, trolls are so about tradition and family and, you know, respecting the elders, and there's just like a lot of culture there that I don't want to say they threw away, but they kind of leaned, I don't know, it just kind of fell off a little bit story wise.
Mhm.
But then again, I wasn't a diehard troll person. I've been in this troll starting zone like maybe one time.
Right.
I can probably tell you more about the heritage armor from the dark spears thing that you did
Right.
most recently. That was very cool.
So-
with the masks, you know, and you get the mask.
Yeah, for sure,
or
for sure.
whatever.
I mean, like Cal's, or exactly what Cal said, the trolls are kind of very one-dimensional. I just love that dimension. So for me, it's a smash. Cal, what are you thinking? Smash or pass? Would you rather have had a different zone?
It wasn't the zone, it was how it was kind of handled with the story.
Mhm.
I just wish they would have gone a different direction. So I would say pass.
Okay. Coughlin?
I actually have a quick question before I answer.
Yeah.
So, would you have been okay if their positions were the same, but their demeanors were swapped?
Possibly, yes.
Yeah. Okay, because that's because I was thinking about that as well. Because whenever I think about Zulaman, I'm actually not even thinking about the main quest line. It's always everything around it. So I'm going to say smash.
Yeah.
But whenever you bring up the main quest line, like, and even I touched on it, it really, yeah, I kind of feel the same way on that. But for the rest of the zone, smash for sure. I
Hey.
don't have a problem with the delves, except the Zulaman main delve. So half the delves I don't like.
Yeah. Vic, smash or pass?
I would say smash, just because I don't necessarily think that there's enough that I don't like about it that would make me not want it.
Right, fair. It's an absolute smash for me. I crush that zone. I 100% stand for it. I think the storyline between both the leaders is done very well. I do understand the perspective of Zuljara being a female and Zul'Jan being a male, but being someone who's also done the 12.1 quest chain, I have a different perspective on it as well. I think the 12.1 quest chain that's coming out with Curse of Ultek adds so much extra depth to Zolaman that it makes it a better zone entirely. And it is a shame that they needed this extra patch to be able to do that. So I think there are definitely things that leave us wanting more. I do agree with the character arc development is very good. Like, I think overall we can choose if we don't like characters or if we like characters, because their character development is extremely well depicted on the canvas, right? We can exactly see the motivations of both of those leaders, and we can see where they're both coming from. We can either agree with or disagree with both of them, but they're clear enough to be able to come up with those opinions. So from a character development standpoint, from a story development standpoint, and from just diving deeper into the Zul'Amani history, I think it is absolutely a smash for me. On to everyone's super favorite zone that they definitely don't ignore and have completed their reputation with is the Harandar and the Harati. What did you guys think of Harandar? I'll start with Vic this time.
Oh, I'm actually annoyed that I waited so long to do the Harandar race. Because I probably would have switched mains pretty quickly back to a druid,
Right.
playing a Hardeneer. But that's just because I really love the mix of the cultures and an entire part of the stemming off is so part of ingrained in the lore of this entire game of like where we all trolls at one, like the planet was troll planet, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm very of the Azeroth as a troll believer. Like her soul is a troll, and I know there's some people that think she's a dragon, which I understand that preface as well, but I just feel like there's, with being in touch with the trees, but then having the trolls stem off from each other, not only to like blood trolls and all these other like smaller, what would you call segregated
Tribes. Yeah.
cultures. And then as they get introduced to magic, then they develop into being elves. Like that lore means so much to me.
Yeah.
So it felt the most wow to me. I know that's gonna sound so crazy to you guys probably, but that felt like we're actually playing WoW now.
Yeah, based off of your story and where you have the introduction into the game, it makes the most sense because you came into the game truly in your own in Legion and BFA. Cal?
Right, so it's all about Azeroth's soul and all about the planet as a whole and how and then we went into dragon lore in the last expansion, explaining how the primordial beings on this planet, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting too deep into it and you guys can stop me if I'm getting too crazy on it.
Well,
but,
I just feel like we didn't get any opinion on the Zone of Harndar.
Oh, so
Actually,
I loved it.
like
I'm
you
sorry,
liked
it was great.
aesthetic, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked
Loved
it.
it.
I'm glad you liked it.
Loved
Good,
it. Sorry.
good. Okay, you're fine. Cal, what did you think of Harndar?
Initial time, I remember questing through it with a buddy, and it was great. Like I loved flying in there, seeing the big, monsters and the dinosaur mushroom things, and I thought it was fantastic. The music in it was very good.
Mhm.
Of course, we all know the zone was developed for the War Within, so it kind of fit into that perfectly.
Right.
The Harndar storyline itself was, I felt like it was a little stretched thin.
Yeah.
I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of meat there. They just try to kind of drag it out a little bit. The Harndar as a race, I think, are kind of interesting. I do like the fact that they're kind of proto trolls. That is an interesting little tidbit. I love the little mushroom guys quest. That's my favorite part of the zone.
I agree.
It's the whole little fight club mushroom. That was chef's kiss. Phenomenal. I loved having that little quest chain.
Mm-hmm. The spore people are the best. Offline, what did you think of Harndar?
Yeah, I would like to. Yeah, just thinking about it from the fact that it was designed for War Within, that's actually how I approach it. Is that this is a War Within zone. The main quest line where it feels forced, that it's being brought into midnight. So the whole light bloom thing, I thought that was interesting. One little fun fact: whenever you're in the light bloom and you hear the music in the light bloom, it's actually the same music as the War in intro cinematic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you.
Yeah.
So for all we know, the light bloom was actually intended to be introduced in the War Within.
I think they did a good job tying it into Midnight's storyline. I don't know if it was ever going to be intended to be a part of the War Within, but I could see how they might have tried to tie it in. But it does. I get where you're both coming from, where it's like it feels like it's out of place.
Mhm.
Yes.
No, I felt like it was so. I couldn't be more. I can feel more different.
It's not necessarily that it feels out of place. It's just it feels standalone.
Yeah.
Like it's like sure it's there, but I could honestly say the
Mhm.
same thing about Erator's quest line. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense with with what it is and with the theme of the expansion, but I
Mhm.
don't treat it as a zone.
Right.
I treat it as just part of the expansion.
Yeah.
I feel that Erator's quest line should have been part of the pre-patch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That would have been good.
Because
Oh,
he already,
wow.
he
That's a
already
great
had that
take.
pre-patch
Oh, wow.
stuff where he
Yeah.
went to the mall to
Yeah.
go find Sylvanas. It should have been
Right.
included in that.
Yeah, no, that's actually a
Wow.
great take. That's a really good take on the air tour. We'll get to air tour here in a bit. So quick smasher pass. I'll give mine after you guys do yours. So Coughlin, smasher pass on Harandar.
Oh, I'm smashing.
Okay.
For sure.
Vic, you smashing for sure, right?
Yeah.
And then Cal, you smashing or passing?
Smash with protection.
Okay. I think Harandar struggles from identity crisis because you can tell that the zone definitely was fleshed out as a middle of the ground patch expansion for the War Within. They designed it that way and they tried to figure out a way to slip it in. But Chris Metzen again took over after the War Within was already pretty much well done and made. And he's come out and stated that he doesn't necessarily like the Harandar and that he's being forced to include them into his story now. So with like the perspective of how they're trying to do it, I think overall it's been a success. Chris Metzen's an incredible writer, and him to be able to tie the Harandar storyline into the Midnight storyline and continue his vision of what he wants this trilogy to be, it's well done. I think it should have been 12.05 patch release. I think instead of having Harandar as a questing experience, we should have had the Plague Lands be completely revamped and done a whole different thing there. And then Harandar should have been its own questing experience and its own zone that was released with 12.05 or 12.07. Even 12.07 makes the most sense because that's when they released. Imagine if they released Dream Rift with 12.05, and that's when Harandar came out. So we had a new zone, we had a new boss, we had new delves, we had new storylines, we had new rep, and it was just a mid-patch release, right? And they had all the content ready for it. And then instead we had a Western Plague Lands revamp. So it's like my imagining of how this expansion could have played out is very different. So I harshly counter to a lot of the things that happen to Harandar. Now, if you look at it from a story perspective, visual perspective, the zone's incredible. I love the rares, I love the treasures, I love the little weekly quests that they have there, I love the culture of the Harandar. It just doesn't fit with Midnight's initial release plan, and it feels like when I go to Harandar and my storyline and my quests, it just takes me completely out of the Midnight storyline. Like, Xal'atath has nothing to do with that whole zone. The enemy is the Light Bloom, and you figure that out all within the questing experience, so it just kind of feels very out of place. So I would pass on Harandar being a part of the questing experience, which is kind of a hot take. I do love the mushroom people though. And again, the zone itself is great. It just feels weird being a part of this expansion.
Yep, I agree.
It was giving Shadowlands though, where you were being transported into a totally different place.
Yeah.
But did you not feel that way when we were in War Within and you had to go to, you know, where all the spiders were and all that? Like,
nah, we're not going to talk about the War Within. We'll save them for a different podcast because I've got a lot of opinions of the War Within, and I loved the Nerubian city. So you're not going to get what you want out of me there. I love Nerubians there. I think that was actually really well done. Last zone, and then we'll talk about Erator's questline, and that'll probably wrap up our first episode of the podcast. We're just going to do a lot of the storyline stuff. We can probably even record episode 2 right after this to continue the thought process, but last zone is Void Spire, or not Void Spire, Void Storm. And I have some pretty hot takes on this zone as well, but we'll start off with Cal. What is your full opinion, pass or smash, on Void Storm and why?
I loved the zone. I know a lot of people don't like it. I thought the zone fit in perfectly in what we were trying to do. I love the whole aspect of trying to take a foothold, and you're working through building up a base, finding allies. I loved Decimus. I thought he was a great character. I like the way that he kind of can't trust him, but you're kind of working with him. His voice lines are phenomenal. The back and forth between him and Varaxian are freaking hilarious. Lothraxian, I'm sorry. So I love the zone. I thought it was very well done. I love the skybox in that zone. If anyone's ever noticed, it's one of my things about it. Like, you can actually look off into the distance, and it's a skybox.
It's good,
but it looks like the distance. I thought they just did a very good job with the zone. The overall feel for it. The delves are great. Like I said, the storyline's great. I loved the whole tying in with Illyria as the main character. It led right into the first raid storyline perfectly. I thought it was just very well done as a capstone for the initial launch of Midnight.
Yeah, solid. No, absolutely great take. So complete smash with the way that they introduced it and being a part of the storyline.
Yes.
Okay. Coughlin?
I will say that this has been a problem for the past couple of expansions. I have never really liked the final zones because I've reached level cap by then.
Right.
So my momentum to really complete some of these later zones instead of just going right into the end game is just not there.
Your motivation.
So I'm
right.
Like, it's not that I don't like leveling, it's that I have other stuff to do now that I need to do now. So I will agree that it did start off well. I did like, befriending Decimus or whatever his face is and getting that all set up, but it did kind of peter out a little bit for me. I would have to say that after experiencing ground mounts for the first 2 zones and being forced to pretty much be vertical the entire time, kind of, I don't know, everything looked a lot the same from the air. I still get lost in it.
There was very few zone diversities in that area. Like, there's the red mushroom area, but the rest of it is pretty much all the same.
So I would have to say that just in general from the questing experience, I know you said like we shouldn't take the special events from each zone
Yeah.
into it necessarily. But because we were at max level,
Mhm.
like who is reaching Voidstorm without being at max level by then?
If you did
It's almost
just
like the event.
the quests, you didn't do any side zones, you just did the storyline quests, I think you actually get max level at completion. They designed it pretty well, but obviously me and you are going to kill rares and do all the side quests, so we're getting experience elsewhere.
Yeah. So I do feel like the little event there was there's promise there,
Mhm.
and it just didn't deliver that much on it.
For sure.
But I would
So smash or pass?
gonna have to go pass.
Okay. Fair take. Vic, smash or pass Voidstorm, and why?
Okay, so I'm gonna say pass, but I think I do have the same opinions as Coughlin, as the end of an expansion is always, or the last zone of an expansion is where my time will become more important to other things.
Right.
That I will not be able to dedicate as much time to the game by the time by the time we've gotten through all the other zones. I'm like, all right, I've already dedicated like X amount of hours to this game. I now either cannot care about this or do not have time to play it. And I don't even know, I couldn't even tell you a handful of the quests that were in this area. So I don't even know if I have a fair, like, I would love to actually go redo it if it's worth it, or maybe even try again to get a better perspective on it.
Yeah.
But it reminded me so much of the second to last expansion release in Shadowlands, when we ended up going to like another version of the Maw. Like, it felt like we were just going to this
Korthia.
Yeah.
Korthia, yes, thank you, Korthia. Where it felt like I was like, damn, I would probably spend more time here, but I just don't have time to spend time here, and the things to do here are too hard for me to do alone.
And I think I have the solution to that. So Vicky's pass, Coughlin is pass, Cal is smash. I personally believe, again, they just designed the release of the zones wrong. This should have been the end game zone. This should have not had a quest. They should have had a small campaign quest chain that tied into the raid, because the raid's inside the zone. And there should have been a lot more of our daily hub stuff to do in Voidstorm. It shouldn't have been a part of the actual leveling up experience. It should have been the only end game entrance to the zone, and then you're in there as an end game character, and everything you're doing is end game style. You get your other questing experiences from the Plague Lands revamp, right? So this would have came out at the same time, but you only got to go in there at level 90, and having an actual official end game zone always feels better. That's why the second patch generally always feels better for a lot of expansions, or the third patch, because we're spending all of our time in that final zone. So when we're going to be on the Coil Isle for most of 12.1, you will experience that end game zone type of gameplay, and the Voidstorm just fails to deliver on the level up experience, and should have been more designed as an end game experience that we spent a lot of more time in, because I do believe it is a beautiful zone. I love the story quest line. I think the Lothraxian is a little overmuch, and they kind of like just didn't know what to do with that character, so they got rid of him. But bringing in Decimus and all the different Void entities, and how there's different factions of the Void that we can kind of manipulate to our favor in rebellion against Xal'atath, was really cool. They just needed to design it better as an official endgame zone. So they haven't done an endgame zone in the start of an expansion since the Maw, because the Maw was so frowned upon. But I feel like they could do it right, and they could do it the right way and better. And the Voidstorm just should have been that. For that reason, I pass on the zone as well. So that is our first official average overall, or majority vote on a pass. All the other zones were a majority vote smash. I think just Voidstorm just wasn't an endgame zone, and we all wanted it to be an endgame zone, and it wasn't. So final wrap ups here. I think we actually go for 2 hours. I'm not opposed to that if you guys are opposed to that.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, because I think we've got a lot more we're going to talk about with this season, and we're not even through the zones yet. So final little storyline here, which I think Coughlin I think Cal and Coughlin both had great ideas on this, is Erator's storyline. So we'll start off with Vic. We'll end with Cal, since he's the one who brought it up. But Vic, what did you think of Erator's quest chain? Because that was technically designed as its own zone.
Yeah, see, it's actually kind of crazy that I wouldn't even have told you. You couldn't have told me that was a different zone. Like, it just felt like part of the game.
Yeah.
Which means it probably was like seamless.
Mhm.
or maybe I'm just not very observant.
It
'Cause
was
I'm
the
like,
first
okay, I'm
time
just
they
doing
did
another
a
quest.
questing hub zone that didn't have a zone. It was just a questing hub experience where you had a similar amount of
Right.
quests that a zone hub would have had, but it was completely phased in different sort of environments throughout all of Azeroth.
I I lean towards that. I feel like it should just feel organic. It shouldn't feel like you're being shuffled from place to place. But at the same time, it should feel like the place that you are has purpose
Right.
and why you're there makes sense.
Hmm.
That's kind of why I think the Void Storm also felt like it maybe should have been a more of like a transitional um expansion. Maybe I don't
Hmm.
want to say pre-patch, but like it felt like we were just in a place. You know what I mean? Like I felt like we're saving this planet. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt very off. I don't know.
Do you even like? What was the most memorable part of the Erator storyline for you? Like, what did Blizzard do a good
Oh,
enough a job for you to remember as a casual player?
actually, honestly, the only thing I really remember from it, like that left an impact on me, was that his dad's kind of
Oh, you kind of cut out. Did you say his dad's a dick?
no, it's he's kind of lame. Yeah, like he's a
Quack.
kind of like a not so yeah. Yeah.
There's a quack. No, I Trallian is definitely his own character, and I'm a little upset. I think Coughlin and Cal got the right idea on this though. So we'll go to Coughlin now. What do you think of the Erator storyline as a lore enthusiast?
I mean, now that like Vix said what she said, I'm wondering if that should be how a lot of quests get handled, expansions going forward. Because instead, like it made the world feel a little bit more alive because it did take you to places like, when's the last time I've been to the Burning Steps?
Right.
Like
And
I go to Steering Gorge all the time. Like there's one side of the mountain that I frequent, and then the other side that's next to Red Ridge I never go to.
right.
But then experiencing that like little lore with that, I was like, I wonder if they could like just do like expansions like this going forward. Like they revamp a zone, but you don't necessarily have quests in the zone. You have quests in Stormwind that end up taking you to these revamped zones.
Yeah.
I have like, well, I
That's
mean,
how
I
it
guess
is
kind
at
of like what,
the town in our neighborhoods.
right.
That's how the quests are in the neighborhoods, and I like those.
Mm-hmm. True.
I mean, technically, they've been doing that for a while with like those random patch. Like, I know we're not
The
just
campaigns
quickly
always kind
touching
of
on the
do
War
this.
Within.
This was kind of like a
Yeah,
mini campaign through the questing experience, which kind of felt really awkward for me. It didn't really have like a good enough spot to be its own type of invisible zone hub as it was designed. I think
right.
they could have done a lot with the Erator storyline in the Plaguelands revamp imagination that I have, and that would have tied in Erator and obviously the Paladins, and they could have even done a lot with Trallian there. It definitely just needed a home. Like, I agree that I loved the idea of these bouncing around questing experiences, but that's a campaign side of things. That's where we're finished up with the zone, and now we're doing campaign quests where the leaders are telling us to go do these random objectives in random areas, and we get sent all over the place. And that's what they did with Erator, but for it to be a part of the level up experience just kind of felt really weird.
Yeah, Cal's suggestion was best.
I think Cal's
honestly.
suggestion's best. So Cal, we'll talk about what you think. How should they have handled Erator's questline?
Well, like I said, I feel like it didn't quite fit into it where the storyline was. You're like doing these zones, working through, and then I actually did Erator's third before Voidstorm, and so I went from Harandar to helping Erator, and I feel like you actually were supposed to do that first.
Yeah,
because it ties directly into the pre campaign stuff.
Yeah, I agree. So Cal's original idea, for those that might have missed it, it was that it should have been a part of the pre-patch. It should have been the pre-patch campaign.
Yeah.
And I think that's brilliant. I think that's exactly what they probably even designed it as. And then it would have even made more sense for us to get the trailer with Erator and his explosion, which is why that was made cinematically like a trailer. So they cut that from the trailer, and then they probably scrapped the pre-patch campaign because it might have had too many spoilers or something, or whatever their decision making was on it, and then they put it as just a random questing experience in the game as a level up experience. And you could tell that a lot of things fell out of the basket with the Erator questline. It's brilliant, don't get me wrong. It's probably the best character development campaign we've had in a very long time. I love going back to all the zones and seeing those things. I just feel like they could have had a home for Erator and Trallian and the Champions of the Light and they could have implemented that with a revamped zone of the Plaguelands, and having Eretor's campaign be part of the pre-patch was absolutely a brilliant take. That is a W take. Because it's in the wrong spot, I pass on the Eretor question.
I think Eretor is too much like, oh my gosh, Anduin. He's very similar in his outlook on things, the soft-spoken, kind of thoughtful, intellectual type holy warrior that was already done by Anduin.
Right.
And now he's being troubled from what happened with his father in the light, in the dark, and who he truly is. It just feels a lot of echoing off of what Anduin's character is already doing and what Anduin's already going through. And so I felt like it was a lot of the same. I wish they would have gone a different route with him. Like, I would love to see him start embracing more of the void and become a void paladin. That would be fantastic.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to go that direction with him. But for me, it felt a little bit too samey. I loved going back to the other zones. I thought that was great. But again, I didn't feel like it felt like part of an expansion campaign, mainly because that's not how they've done them in the past.
Correct. I think just to counter on your Anduin comparison, because a lot of people have this type of take on Eretor, and it has nothing to do with you're just wrong in the opinion. It's the way that they wrote him and depicted it, because Eretor is not a comparison to Anduin. He's a reflection of Anduin. Anduin doesn't feel like he's worthy of the light. Eretor feels like the light's not worthy of him. He's too prideful to use the light. When he has that mistake, he goes, the light, there's something wrong with the light. Where if Anduin were to have that experience, Anduin would go, there's something wrong with me. Because he has pure faith in the light. He has pure, unaffected by anything. The light is the holiest power in the world. And Anduin believes that entirely. Eretor's character, and this is why it's bad writing by Blizzard, because they didn't depict this well enough, has the exact opposite effect. Where Eretor goes, there's something wrong with the light. The light is corrupt. The light is evil. We shouldn't use the light. So you're right. He should definitely go kind of more of a different direction from it. But he has the exact opposite feeling than Anduin does. So whenever people compare those two characters, I feel like there's worthy conversation to have of Blizzard's writing capabilities of Eretor, because he has such a cool creative idea, and he is an exact mere reflection of Anduin. But because those characters never interact, to where we get to see Anduin try to correct Eretor and Eretor try to correct Anduin, and we never see that conversation happen. They never even talk once. We miss that comparison. Where if they were in the room at the same time together all the time, Anduin witnessed what happened to Eretor, and Anduin sees it, and Eretor goes, there's something wrong with the light, and Anduin goes, there's nothing wrong with the light. We would have a way better depiction of how those characters are separate. But Blizzard did a bad job on that.
I would have liked that story.
Me
I actually
too.
would have loved those two constantly being at odds with each other.
You set
It's
them up as
how can you
mirrors.
blame the light when the light answers your call.
Right, exactly. Like, he is such a prophet
maybe we
of
could
the
go to
light.
war again. Maybe they could get so mad at each other that they would go to war again.
So I think that, like, that's not your fault, that's Blizzard's fault, and that is an exact reason of why it wasn't done properly. It wasn't done well enough for them to be good mirror characters.
I mean, in Blizzard's defense, I still have not read Eretor's book. I
Me
still
neither.
need to get to that.
Me neither.
So there could
I
be
didn't know there was
more.
a book.
Yeah, it's a prequel for the expansion. It goes over his. I think it's called Family Ties or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I knew they had
I can't remember.
videos. I didn't know they had a book.
Yeah.
So quick
Well, see, it's funny
roundtable.
because I thought Sylvanas' brother was going to be more important to this.
He's a ghost. We're not talking about Sylvanas' brother. That guy's
No,
ghosty.
I'm saying I was anticipating him being more important than her nephew.
Okay, fair. I mean, I don't know how you thought a ghost would get more involved.
Oh, okay.
He
fair,
wasn't
okay,
raised
fine.
by the Scourge, you know what I mean? Like, he's just a straight up spirit. And honestly, he shouldn't even be there. The fact that he's a ghost was just fan service in itself.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
He should have been taken to the Shadowlands. Honestly, we should have seen him in the Shadowlands, and then there should have been a whole conversation with Sylvanas and him in the Shadowlands. We're not getting into that. We're not talking about Shadowlands.
That would have been
Shadowlands
good.
was so
That would
bad.
have been great. That would have been
Back
awesome.
to Eretor.
Right. Back to Eretor.
Quest line. I did have a complaint about how they handled Turalian.
Yeah.
I didn't like the fact I felt like they were retconning part of Turalian's lore and his storyline of how he came from, and they just kind of painted him as this super zealot of the light. I mean, he kind of is that anyways. I think
he
they were
became
rewriting
that.
some of that's what I felt like. He became that, but they're trying to say that he's always been that.
Yeah,
Like
like
that's where I'm kind of like, I don't quite agree with that.
Right.
But
I think after fighting the Burning Legion with a light Naru on your side and that's the only thing that keeps you alive, you develop that relationship with the light as your
For
only thing that you
1,000
need.
years.
1,000 years. So he developed that. So yes, I agree that
Yeah.
they definitely did Trallian a little dirty.
But maybe the light Naru are also corrupt.
Well, that's what the whole
like
point
the
of the
purple
storyline
dark
was
Naru.
supposed
Yeah.
to
That's what I think the whole storyline is aiming towards.
and
is
they
that
didn't do that.
anything in excess.
Yeah, what
is
happened? Like
corrupting.
that is
Right.
that is the I
So-
think they're missing the mark.
Overall consensus, we're passing on the Erator storyline. It wasn't done well enough.
I wouldn't pass it. I just don't think it was great as a level up experience.
Yeah, in the wrong spot. So you do smash it though still.
Yeah,
Okay.
with caveats. Yeah.
Fair. Coughlin, pass or smash Erator?
There were some good moments in that quest line.
There
did
are.
like- Yeah, and for those moments alone, like it's one of those things where I may not like the story, but I
Mhm.
liked how the story was delivered. So I'm gonna have to give it a smash.
Yeah. Bishop Fowl going through all the things that he goes through and mentoring him is such a perfect character for that. Anduin should have been involved more, but they did a good job with that enough. Vic, smash or pass Erator?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say pass, but I think that's because I didn't get to give it the attention it deserved. Like I said, maybe I'll go back and redo it and maybe I'll think differently.
Right.
But to me, I was just like, another story. Like, where was this? Why is this so? It did feel like it was in the wrong place. Now
Right.
that I'm like, if that was earlier on in the expansion, there's no way I would have missed it, and there's no way I would have not loved it.
Yeah, I think a pre-patch would have been the perfect spot for it. So just based off of pacing and timing wise, same reason why I passed on Harndar, I'm going to pass on Erator as well. It's a good zone, but they just put these in the wrong order. We should have got them throughout patches. We should have gotten
or like a 0.7 patch.
like this should have been a different storyline patch. Like there just should have been something more to do. They did such a good job with the War Within.
Longevity for sure.
We had a new campaign quest every patch in the War Within. There was always 5 or 6 new little quests to go do, and they might have been little things like going back to Arathi or big things like doing stuff with Anduin, but they were still little campaign quests every mid patch or half patch, and we just didn't get that this entire first season. So from a story questing experience, the pacing felt completely off, and they could have done a way better job of having everything complete and then just sitting down and editing the timeline. And when they wanted to release stuff better, they should have had a better roadmap. So I pass on the last 3 zones. Overall, give a rating of S tier to D tier of the entire questing experience for Midnight. We'll start with Vic.
I would go A. I wouldn't say S, but I would say A.
Okay, that's good. Coughlin?
I'm gonna have to say B.
Interesting.
Sure.
What do you think is
Yeah,
better? So if we can get a perspective. What do you think is better than it for what is an A in your opinion?
I will say it's just very biased, but I would have to say the 1 to 20 experience in classic questing experience.
For like Mr.
is
Pandaria?
definitely A. Or oh my gosh, Mr. Pandaria questing experience. Oh, S tier.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You're right.
Fair.
I completely forgot about that.
Right.
But yeah, no. Everything.
We just did remit. What do you mean?
Right.
Just happened.
Well, the thing is that those are quests that I don't see myself ever really going back and doing midnight quests again, unless like even whenever I level up a new character, I'd rather go and pick herbs in Zulaman
Right.
and do the quests in the zone.
And
Like, that's what I mean.
That's a different conversation to have about the overall new player experience or even the alt experience nowadays, where we had to go through every single expansion for several expansions. So we got deeply in touch with which ones we liked and which ones we didn't. Now that we get to choose just one expansion, we're actually missing out on that entire storyline of like which ones we like, which ones we don't like. Like if we are only ever going to pick one to level up through, I'm never not going to pick Cataclysm or Legion or BFA or Warlords. Like I'm never going to pick Dragonflight over those, or the War Within over those, or Midnight over those for sure, because those are just better experiences in my opinion. Cal, what do you think? A tier, B tier? What tier are you putting it in?
I'm gonna put it as a B.
Okay.
With my comparison being, and this is probably going to be controversial, I really enjoyed Alliance side BFA leveling.
Me too.
No, me too,
Yeah.
Cal.
I think
I
BFA
know
is
a lot
actually
of
Cal, that's
like
my
people
S
didn't like.
tier.
Yeah, I know a lot of
That's
people
my
didn't like
S tier
BFA,
right now.
but I liked the storylines.
Yeah.
I loved all of the Alliance storylines going through BFA, with Legion probably being a close second, just because it was
Yes.
so heavy story driven on
Right.
your class, because it integrated the class halls as well.
Okay.
You know what? Now that you mention it, that was the last expansion that I even wanted to do the quests in, like
Yeah.
Shadowlands,
Yeah.
Midnight War Within. Nope, didn't care.
I think B tier for me as well. I think overall that's going to be an average for Sleighingit.Online saying that the questing experience is B tier, and that just has to do with pacing. If they did the Plague Lands as a zone questing up through, they did the Air Tour in the pre-patch, they did the Void Storm as a final end game zone, and they released Harandar as a 12.05 patch, it would probably be an A tier to S tier experience. The pacing of the questing and the pacing of the lore being delivered. We haven't had new lore in the game since the first patch, since 12.01. So because of that alone, I feel as a lore enthusiast, we were kind of abandoned in this expansion compared to the expansions previous of what we've seen the art capable of doing, especially with how well we were treated with lore in the War Within. I put B tier. And for comparison, my best questing experiences for expansions is like BFA, Warlords of Draenor, and Legion. Cataclysm's up there too. Like those are all really good questing experiences, and Midnight just doesn't come up to meet that bar to where those three are, in my opinion. So let's do a quick little ad break. This stream and this podcast are sponsored by us, Sleighingit.Online, specifically our August merch drop. So we always do a really fun trading post drop where my wife creates a new piece of clothing, sometimes several variants, and I will also create a new piece of clothing every single month. They are only limited time available for the month that they are released, and this month we specifically have a birthday shirt because August is my wife and my birthday. It is also the start of when I started streaming. There's a lot of anniversaries that have to do with August. It's a major month for the stream and major month for SIO, so I released a really nice SIO logo branded lawn sleeve t-shirt with the Red the Deer birthday on the back, and my wife made a happy wife or happy life nerdy wife shirt and also an equivalent crop hoodie that is for that. So go check out linktree.com/redthedeer for access to the merchandise store, or streamlabs.com/redthedeer to go directly to the merch store and check out our August merchandise drop, our trading post drop, for the limited time available option on those clothing items. Thank you so much, Sleighingit.Online, for sponsoring the stream. So we got through all of the questing experiences, and now I think we can go into a little bit of the end game conversation. We're going to go through these quickly, but tying the reputations to the end game mechanics of each zone. So each rep had their each zone that had their each weekly mechanic that we had to do. And then we also had the prey system, the delve system, mythic plus system, the raid system, and finally we had, with the end game progression zone, the patches that came out with the different activities that came out with those patches. So we'll talk about the anglers, we'll talk about the relics or the ritual sites and the incursion zones, as well as PvP and everything that has to do with PvP. So to start, I believe we should go into the reputations and the weekly attachment to each of those reps. So the first weekly we did was the soiree party in Everson Woods. This ties into 5 reputations. 4 of them are the military factions that are represented in Silvermoon, the 5th being the overall arcing Silvermoon reputation with Everson Woods. So what did you guys think of the soiree and the endgame reputation for Everson Woods?
Well, the soiree was... It's funny because the dailies and the weakest part of it was the rune stones, right? Because once you did it once, it was fine. You know, it wasn't that bad. You had no real reason to do it again, except for the weekly. So I never did it. It was fun while it lasted, but I would have to say the rest of it, like choosing the different reps and balancing it, I was upset whenever I found out that once you reached a tier, you actually couldn't get below that tier. So for you to actually max, because I was like spending the first like month like strategically choosing which one to like get them all up so that they could be all max at the same time.
Where in
Only
reality,
to find out, like, oh yeah, you didn't need to do that.
Yeah, the more efficient way was doing
that's
one all the way to max than working on the others. Yeah.
Right. And that killed it a little bit. for me, but I did enjoy it when I did think that was what you
Right,
could
right.
do.
When there was
So
some
I guess
strategy
I
to
don't
it, right?
know. Yeah, so maybe if they did have that strategy, it would have been a little bit better. But I did like the idea in my mind
Mhm.
of what it was
I know that
and what it
Vicky
actually is.
is gonna have the most interesting perspective on all this endgame stuff because she quite literally has done one delve, or she's done one prey. I mean, she's done several delves, but she's done one prey. So her endgame experience is, I think, actually the most interesting because the endgame mechanics of this expansion could not hold her attention, and I'm interested to know
Well,
a
my
little bit
end
more
game
about that.
is, I mean, my end game is my housing.
Like, so you don't care about the reputations or the rewards or the weeklies at all.
Unless it's gonna get me more stuff to put in my house, absolutely not.
That's fair. That's fair.
There are housing items tied to every single reputation, to be fair.
You're right. You're right. Now, is there anything in the game that shows me, hey, do you want these things? You have to do this quest line to do it? No, I have to download an add-on for that.
Right. So you're just hoping that there was a more motivational direction to do the end game systems.
Yeah, I mean
do you remember the soiree at all to provide an opinion on it?
No, actually, as you were saying it, I was like, is that the one where we turn into the little guy and we have the little plate and we're like serving the vampire's blood? Oh
That's
no, that
Shadowlands.
was in Shadowlands. So
Okay. All right, so Vicky's opinion on most of these is gonna be just glazed
part of
over.
me was
That's
like,
fine.
no,
Similar.
this is
You're not
this
wrong.
is the same as this is the same thing as the theater was War Within.
Right, but a
but
different
I could
system.
not even tell you where it was.
Right. Okay.
I think you were right there with the Venthier and managing like the reputations and stuff there.
It's similar because then you have to do the
Yeah.
characters, and each of the characters have their own reputation that went up or lower. So yeah, that's a similar system. That's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
Cal, what did you think of the soiree, the party?
Most of my opinions on all these endgame systems are going to be very similar.
Okay.
And the overarching theme that I would go with for them is they're all half-baked.
Interesting.
They all had interesting concepts, like Coughlin said, with the balancing the reputation. I did the same thing. I literally swapped and rotated every week, thinking that it actually made a difference, realizing at the end that, it didn't really matter, and you could have just focused on one and called it a day.
Yeah.
So I felt like
you were
they're
trying
also,
to balance it.
Yeah, because I didn't want to lose rep on them, because that's what they said.
But isn't that the same system they implemented in the Goblin expansion?
No, you never lost rep with the goblins.
No, it was just you choose one for the week, and the other ones didn't really get any rep. But this one, technically, you're supposed to lose rep because they don't really like each other, which I thought was really thematic. I thought it was interesting.
That was fun.
It just was half baked.
Yeah. It could have been the entire end game, and I think no one would have complained.
Oh, so it's more like Booty Bay.
Yes. Now you're thinking the right character. It's more like when you have to
That
level up to
sounds
Buccaneers
interesting.
versus the goblins. Yeah. It's like when you do the pirates or if you want to do the goblins. Yeah, 100% it is like that. But that honestly is more fleshed out, and there's zero things to do with that besides killing mobs.
Right.
Yeah.
My idea on the soiree, I loved it. I do agree it suffers from a lack of attention. It needed a lot more. It should have been a lot more. It was by far leaps and bounds better than any other end game progression weekly. Without a doubt. It is so nostalgic to go to an area, grab dailies, do those dailies, see reputations go up. I love that there was 4 minor reputations attached to the major reputation. They each had their own reward catalogs, so many mounts, so many companions, very cool thematics. I thought all of the dailies were perfectly designed. They took only like a couple minutes per daily. It was awesome. Overall, I think the soiree is what Blizzard is currently capable of making, and this is sad that it's that high. But in midnight terms, it is an S tier weekly progression system. Overall, with if we compare it to all the other endgame weekly progressions, it is very weak. It is very weak.
I think thematically, it's hilarious. If you really take a step back and look at it, it is so blood elf coded.
Yeah.
Right.
That you have all of this stuff going on. I mean, the Sunwell just got attacked, or is currently being attacked, depending on where you're on the storyline, by the Void. You have the Light Bloom going on right next door, and they're like, "Hey, go check our defenses to make sure that we can keep drinking and partying.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah, these
Which is
these
why we
royals have to
thought-
give us money.
that it was going to be petty, like politics against one another.
They
as opposed
quite
to it just being all things.
Yeah, what happened
Like-
to like the backstabbing or like literally going and like listening to another conversation?
When
and, like,
I
selling secrets,
say
like,
it could have been the entire end game progression for the first patch is it could have been Shadowrath City, where we each picked a faction of the 4, like a minor Shadowlands, where we each picked a faction of the 4 for just cosmetic purposes, and we had rewards with each of them, and each of us was either a Far Strider or a Murder Row or whatever, and that was a major reputation contributing like tier list that we had to deal with the entire expansion. They should have done a lot more with it, and they could have done a lot more with it, but overall when it came to like all of the weeklies, it is by far my favorite one. So I say smash. I want more things like that. Do 1,000 things more like that, please. It was perfect.
Yes. Well,
Perfect in the sense of like I just wanted more. So
it's definitely the best
oh,
end game
for sure.
thing from Midnight. Yeah.
Now we'll move on to the probably the most controversial or the most opinionated one, because people either love it or they hate it, and that is the abundance system with Dun Dun or Doom Doom, however you want to pronounce it. And I always said Dun Dun, and I think the shards of Dun Dun being tied to professions, the actual mechanic itself, all of the different buffs and nerfs that it had when it first came out, it was crazy overpowered, and then they nerfed it, and then they fixed it with a later on patch to make it to where you could do all of them at once. I think it was ambitious, and it wasn't done well enough. I think it should have been
Was
tied
it
into
possibly-
professions more.
Is possibly half baked, maybe.
It definitely was. I agree with you. All
I
of
don't
these were
know.
definitely half baked, but I think the Harndar one's pretty fleshed out. They just didn't have enough to complete the actual reputation, which is silly. So
I don't know if
overall,
ambitious is right.
I think
But we're going to round robin. You'll get.
yeah. I'll get to what you want to say about it. So it's like I think my opinion of Dun Dun, because I actually made a very viral successful video on it. I was able to make a guide on it because it was so confusing at first. I enjoyed the idea of it. Again, I think they could have done a lot more. It should have been greatly tied to professions. I think all of the greater crafts should have a shard of Dun Dun or a perfect flawless shard of Dun Dun that you get at the end of the Dun Dun, so you have to do them to do professions. I think you should have gotten a lot more rewards if you did stuff in there that were tied to your professions. I understand what they wanted to do, and that it bounced around from the 4 zones was kind of cool. It's just so unbelievably mind-numbingly easy that you just go in there with 1 or 2 other people, if they're even just randoms. You finish the entire weekly in 2 minutes. And I think that is a flawed system if that's the case. So I would pass on the Amani reputation Shard of Dun Dun abundance system. Vic, what's your small opinion of doing
See,
the
that's like-
abundance? Do you even remember it? Did you
Yeah.
even do it once?
So this is the little green rat, right?
Yeah, you go into the cave and you kill all the things, you collect the things.
Capybara.
No, Dun Dun's a rat for sure.
Dun Dun's a rat.
For sure.
Yes, he is.
Dun Dun's
Capybara
he's
is
a
the
wild
different
god. He was the first rat
Oh
on the
yeah, you're
Azeroth.
right. Yeah, you're right.
Cause like that's I think where I was like if it would have been the capybara, I probably would have like.
So just because the animal is different, you're passing.
I'm sorry. I know my opinion's gonna be the one that everyone's gonna be like, why is she? But I just think that there's like if you're gonna want to keep me intrigued, I do like what you absolutely did not like. I like that I could spend 2 minutes on it. I could get it done like in between doing the laundry and the dishes or whatever.
You're right.
I didn't have to spend a few hours on it. I didn't have to go very many places to do it.
Right. Okay.
But I
fair.
only did it like twice, maybe. I only did like 2 weeks in a row, and then I don't think I've ever done it.
Right. Interesting.
So
So
if I had more time to commit to it, I probably would have done it.
That's crazy that it only takes 2 minutes a week, and you're saying you need more time to commit to it, but that just showcases
I
how
know.
uninteresting of content it is. Coughlin, go ahead and give your opinion now. I'm interested. Unless you want Cal to go first.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Cal could go first, so I could just start off. It was like I've never really felt like I was drunk enough to enjoy it. Because there's definitely some bombastic nature with it.
Yeah.
But it's just never like let Cal say his thing because I could probably spend an hour on this alone.
Right.
There was no real purpose, and I think Red touched on it a little bit here, where I wish they would have done more with it.
Right.
Again, half baked.
Mm-hmm.
They should have implemented more fully into the crafting. They
Yeah.
should have been an end game crafting thing. They'd put the tools behind it,
Mm-hmm.
and oh my gosh, the Reddit post about people complaining about having to do this every week on all of their 180 ults that they have because they needed to get the epic tools was ridiculous. And I think it's one of the reasons why Blizzard just kind of dropped it.
Yeah.
Because people already got tired of running it, but they didn't make it interesting enough. It was so
Mm-hmm.
boring and mind numbing. You just
Yeah.
literally joined a raid group and sat there while everyone else did everything, and then you were done for the week.
Exactly. Yeah. There was ways to get in there when you have 5 or 6 of the people randomly in the instance, and they're just killing everything ad nauseum, and you're just going around collecting the circles and turning them in, and it doesn't even feel like you're participating in an activity, and you're earning such a plethora of the reward that, like, I was able to get the mountain, I think, the second week, and I don't think that should ever be something that's possible for any reputation grind.
Yeah, the way they have it now, where you can spend all of your tokens at once, that kind of lessened the time requirement for it because you can use all of your shards done at once.
It made
But
it less
I think-
important too.
Sit on shards.
Yeah, I think what it should have been tied to, like, for example, with the crafting, it should have made it so that, once a week you can go in here and have a really high chance of getting some good crafting materials, an abundance of crafting materials.
I've always thought that. Yeah. Like, why, when you get your rewards, do you not get like 30 gold copper ores, 30 gold quality copper ores, or something, anything, like you get to pick a satchel, and one of the satchels is mining, leatherworking, enchanting, tailoring, whatever it would be. You got to pick one satchel, and that satchel give you rewards. At least that alone would make it feel more worth it to do every day or a week.
But if they did that, then
they
they'd have
do.
to make it account wide, because otherwise the people with 500 ults
Right,
are
would
going
just,
to just
I mean,
abuse
that is
the
the
system.
thing, though.
yeah.
You can buy those materials with the rewards.
You can't now. They added that in 12.05. It wasn't something that was originally released with it. But that's because people were they were purchasing all of the things, so now they had 20,000 of the material and nothing to spend it on. Like, I think I have a ridiculous amount of that abundant shards of done or whatever, and I have nothing to spend it on. But you're right, you can buy the professional materials afterwards. But that was a second thought. That was, again,
I haven't done done in like probably 3 months.
I think it's called Dun Dun because it's supposed to be specifically for gatherers, and that's the noise that Netflix makes, and that's what gatherers
And they're all watching.
watch
Yeah.
while they're gathering. And I really think that's what it is.
That's
Like,
hilarious.
that's not a joke. I really think.
I surprisingly kept up with my abundances pretty consistently. I think I might have only missed a couple weeks when I took my major ascension break, but overall, yeah, super weak, pass, 1,000 times % pass. Never make something like this again unless you're really going to commit to it. Like, it just felt so freaking stupid to do every day, every week. I never looked forward to doing it. It was something that I always didn't want to do.
Yep, it was a chore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bad chore too. So I think we're all
With
in
no
consensus
rewards.
on passing. Moving on, let's go to the Harandar weekly question, which a lot of people don't actually know this, but the Harandar weekly it kind of felt more like just a continuation of their campaign, but it was going to the reliquary guy and asking him, hey, I'm going to pursue this artifact. And then you went into like a mini delve sort of style simulation, and you finished the storyline. There's a couple treasures in each one. And then after you collected all of the items, the relics, you just got to choose whichever one you wanted to go repeat and do. And I overall thought this was a very fun style of weekly because it was a progressive new quest to do every week. You controlled the storyline on what you did. I just wish that if you finished and got every relic, you were exalted. I wish they paced it out better to actually complete the reputation when you complete the activity. And they just didn't do that. So for me, it's kind of like a pass, but I did actually really enjoy the activity. Vic, do you remember doing this at all?
No, I ghosted this weekly. It was not something that came across my my desk, apparently. I think a lot of the time with these weekly things, if there's not like almost like a right in my face, like, hey, you need to get this thing to do this thing, you got to go talk to this guy. Like, unless there's that, I mean, there is obviously that in the game, but it's not obvious enough for me to be even doing it.
Right.
Because I'm not keeping up with the news. I'm not keeping up with the expansion patch notes. Like, for someone who passively plays the game, like, I didn't even know it existed.
Fair. Totally good. I think that's a good opinion.
Each week was a new housing item, though, too.
Yeah, and I missed it because it wasn't obvious enough to me to do it.
And that's Blizzard's fault, to
And
be
that
fair.
sucks.
Yeah, that's definitely
You're
an
absolutely
opinion.
right.
Yeah, that's a good take. That's a good take. I'm happy you're here because that opinion is one that we, all three of us, do not have at all. So the fact that it wasn't more
Yeah, like, I would have
easily
done it.
apparent
Like,
to
I would have saw that there was a new couch. Hey, this couch just dropped from this expansion.
To be fair,
this reputation thing. You have to do these 3 quests every week.
It was like the most unique style of weekly rep that they've done in a long time. And so because it just felt like continuation of the quests, I know that you're someone who doesn't do every side quest. You probably just would have thought it was another side quest rather than a weekly rep grind.
And I might have, you're like, you might have already even done it.
Right.
Because I was like, I mean, I was freaking out about the grapes, Red. Like, I had to get the grapes. I was like, when do we do the grape, like, quest?
Yeah.
When do we get to it?
Right.
And you were like, just do the quests in front of you. And I was like, but I need to do the grapes. Like, I need to get
Like, you just
grapes.
wanted to skip the entire storyline to get to the side quest and give you the grapes. Yeah. Coughlin,
Yeah.
what do you think of this weekly?
This was definitely my second favorite. I really liked the lore. I love just anything that's more like baked.
Yeah.
Like, the entire, like, I didn't care if I got a housing item or that. And it's okay that these weeklies have a stopping point.
Yeah.
Like, that's all right. Like, I collected all the items. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need to do this anymore.
Exactly.
I enjoyed the stories. And if I wanted a refresher, I could just pick the item. I really did. I would have to say that, to kind of piggyback a little bit on Vic, that is kind of a problem that Blizzard is definitely having with their end game, is that they have so much repeatable content that the idea of just exploring can sometimes feel like a waste of time. So even just this, like, because it's not like it's not in your face,
right?
Because I think this is like, as soon as you go into Harandar, this quest marker is there, which is why I think Red is right. You probably just thought this was just a side quest you didn't want to bother doing.
It was a yellow question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
unless it's on my Zygor and there's a picture of the thing that I'm gonna get for doing that quest in the quest log, I'm probably not gonna pick it up because it might just sit in my quest log and I'll never do it.
To defend one of our best partners and sponsors, there is a section on Zygor that you could load up the Harati reputation and it will absolutely guide you through this, but you just never cared about the reputation.
WoW gave me nothing to want to do it.
Right.
Right.
So
where
Cal,
was the post
overall,
on TikTok? Hey guys, the next 3 things, you know what I mean? Where is the advertising?
I guess it's done by the content creators nowadays more than not, and Blizzard relies on content creators to do that, honestly. I felt that with, like, when I had to make the guide for the Shard of Dundun, and it truly was ahead of the wave. Like, Wowhead didn't even have a good system for it, and they used my video on Wowhead for the guide for Shard of Dundun. It just proves that, like, Blizzard isn't that good at describing their systems anymore. So they just rely on outside sources like Wowhead and content creators to do it. No one did. No one really did.
Yeah,
no one did until I made the video, because that's just how Blizzard is at describing it. It's just one of those things. So Cal, and what do you think overall of the Harandar weekly?
Love the lore behind it, like the storyline. Do not like the fact that if you missed a week, there was no catch up. So I didn't like that. I feel like if you missed a couple weeks, you should be able to go back and do them all back to back to get caught up to everyone.
Sure.
But that's, I guess, it's still kind of treated as a weekly thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like that was kind of a dropped thing there. I did feel like it was kind of repetitive though. Like, I liked it, the lore and until it, but the process of it was very kind of, click on a stone, click on a scroll, and that was pretty much it. So I feel like they could have done a little bit more. But as a side little lore thing, it kept the lore kind of flowing for, like, I think it was like 7 weeks or something. I forgot how many things there were. But so I felt like there was a reason to do there. But in what Vic is saying, I agree. What they should do, if they're going to have these separate zones like this, is actually have like a hub in the main city that you get the quests from. So there's no reason you couldn't pick up the quest to go to Harandar to do this.
The trading post guy?
to say,
And the
hey,
thing that
every
I'm gonna
week you
get
have
is
this.
right there,
Yeah.
and it's like, hey, go do these 3 quests, and you'll get this mount, and you'll get this housing item,
Yeah.
and you'll get this transmog.
That's a good idea.
That needs to exist somewhere in the.
I agree. No, I think we all miss the hub. And like the best example of blind motivation, because that's really what we're asking for, is just like people who don't explore, don't care about reading Wowhead, don't care to dive deeper into the mechanics and the minutia of going to your character, reputation, clicking on the renowned journal, whatever it might be, is the world quest system, right? Back in the day when they showed, hey, the emissary this week is the wardens, so go do your warden quests. And now they were just world quests, they were just weeklies, and all 3 of these systems are a compilation in tune with world quests, right? Because at the end of the day, the reputation grind, the dailies are still going to be world quests, but having an extra weekly thing, a weekly activity to do, was a nice gift to the reputation grind overall. This is better than just doing world quests. However, there does need to be some type of blind motivation that motivates people. Hey, this week you're going to get extra reputation, or today is extra reputation in Harandar. Today is extra reputation in Everson. Go do motivate the players to go do the activity as a community, so that way, instead of me doing it on Monday and everyone else doing it on Thursday, I'm not doing it by myself. Instead, when I get motivated to do it, because the week tells me, hey, today's Everson, I'm going to go do the soiree, I'm going to do all the world quests, I'll do a ritual site that's in Everson, because there's going to be extra motivation to do those things in that zone. For example, if there was an Everson bounty, right? The delve in Everson would also automatically give you another chest. Something like that would help people be motivated to be more adventurous into the zones collectively rather than individually.
What if the bounties in the certain things to go kill certain people was like on a timer, and you had to do it before the other faction? Or
well, speaking of factions, that's a great transition, baby. They tried to do a weekly faction hub system PvP wise in the Voidstorm, and that was a great transition. I think overall we're gonna say like the lore was good of the Harandir reputation grind, but they needed a little bit extra oomph with it and motivation with it to be more clear. Right? That's the consensus. We're all kind of like half smashing it.
I'm smashing it, but I completely understand the issues with it. It was an interactive novel for me.
It didn't feel like a actual weekly hub type thing. It just felt like a time gated quest.
Yeah, it was an interesting take. I think that they could do more interesting things like that and have success. So I do hope that they get motivated to do more story driven weekly reputation grinds, because as we develop a reputation, we should learn more about them rather than just helping them kill 10 mobs in a zone and getting exalted with them.
It's funny that you call it a reputation grind, because it almost doesn't feel like a reputation grind at all. It just feels like it's just a weekly thing you gotta wait every week for.
Yeah.
That's all.
A time gated quest chain that also had rep tied to it was really what it was at the end of the day. So Voidstorm, everyone's favorite. I think this is very clearly the #1 weekly activity that everyone did on Abundance, and every single time it popped up, we did it for free multiple times because it was so good, right? That's the assumption. You agree with that, Coughlin?
Like the Voidstorm stuff?
Yeah, the Voidstorm weekly tower defense game and the PvP one, right? You just did that on nauseam?
I wouldn't say on nauseam, but I did do it like maybe 5 or 6 times. Yeah.
I did it twice. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Cal?
Yeah, I like the Voidstorm, but this endgame mechanics in this one were just a miss. That Stormarian assault thing was so poorly implemented, so poorly coded. There were so many bugs with it.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it felt like it was going to be a good idea, but then just was executed absolutely terribly.
Half-baked.
Because tower defenses are fun.
I think they just should have just made an actual tower defense game that you go into it and then you get it put into a weird phase scenario where you're top down facing downwards and you're placing towers down, and you have a whole implemented mini game tower defense game that has nothing to do with your character's rotation or anything. Just go full baked on it. Like,
it would have been a lot better.
Why can't we?
So bad,
why can't we guide the turtles to the water?
Stop. No, never talk about that again.
We're not doing that.
We're never doing the
That's
turtles
what I'm
again.
saying.
I get what you're saying, because you jump into a vehicle and you do a separate thing completely, and that's what I described, but the turtles is the worst example of that.
But
No,
I'm
because they
just
could have
saying, like,
absolutely did a thing where they like, oh, you like on cooldown, you hit this button, and all of a sudden the turtles go faster, or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
They could have
I
absolutely been
they
like more
definitely,
with this.
I had
dropped
so
the
much
ball.
hope for it. It's tough. It's the only one that I didn't get the mount from because there's a mount drop in it, and I just can't be motivated to go back and do it. I refuse. It takes too long. It's boring as hell. Now that we're all
you can't really
geared,
solo
none
it.
of the elites are strong enough to care. So why even put up the turrets or towers anymore? Why even worry about that when you could just kill them all as they rally towards the tower? It's actually easier to group them up that way.
Well, the turrets were
Why didn't
terrible
they-
anyways. They didn't work very well.
No, not at all.
Why didn't they? What is that in that game? Like the Gears of War game. You're just
Yeah,
replaying it.
there should have been a horde scenario, right? Yeah, like wave
a horde
after wave.
scenario.
Like they did.
If you're gonna, that would have been more fun.
Yeah, they actually did a great job with this in the War Within with the tuning of the machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you go in there and you
Yes.
fight wave after wave,
Wave
very
it in.
like in like
Yes.
an own little private scenario, you go in with your friends. Like that felt good.
Right.
That felt doable. I actually
I
enjoyed
did
that mechanic.
more than I did this.
This should have been not so community based, more individual based, and it should have been more tower defense based.
Or
100%.
small group based.
This is
Like,
a
almost
major
like a
pass
delve, but
for me.
less. Yeah.
Like, I hope they never do something like this again, or if they do, they implement it the way it's supposed to be implemented. This was miserable of an activity.
Well, plus the systems they put into it that you're supposed to interact with, they literally can be ignored. Like most people
Yeah.
didn't even know that you could talk to the guy and buy special weapons that you could use.
Yeah,
Like the whole thing was just so
What?
poorly
Yeah.
done.
you can
I didn't
use
know
the
that.
you can use the currency that you use to build the towers to buy like a grenade or a flamethrower to help you
Oh,
kill the
yeah,
mobs. But your
I would-
rotation's
felt
going to do more
worse than
damage and
the
be
mob.
faster.
Yeah.
It felt less motivating than the Ma. Did you, as someone who got 2,000 rating in the PvP zone, I can kind of say I never once did the dailies in the PvP area. Not one time. Never cared
They
to.
were boring too.
Never cared to.
And you didn't have to be PvP to do them.
There was no secondary reputation tied to it. Where's the random PvP reputation that you can only get doing the PvP quests that will motivate me
There
to
was
do
one.
that? Is there one?
There was one.
Yeah,
Yes.
there is one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I never
I have
did
a
it.
question.
Never did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, babe.
So in those kind of situations, would have that been that you needed to get a whole set of gear? You should have been like, should we have just like full sent it as a guild? Like, should we have all just gotten really into, doing some battlegrounds and then going back and forth between that? And
it
then
helps
that
to
could have
have-
been more motivating
Tomorrow.
to do it.
It helped to have world quest like world PvP gear, and that's one of the things that I did miss out on. Was there was specifically a world PvP set of transmog this season,
Yeah.
and I have like 7 of the 9 pieces. So I would love to finish that up, but I literally only got those 7 out of 9 pieces from PvP world quests, not from actually doing any other PvP activity, especially the Void Storm PvP zone. That's just something I didn't do. So I think that was a major miss as well. It did not motivate me. And then let's not even talk about the battleground that's themed after it, because that's also a shit show
Oh,
battleground. So
That
bad.
is crazy.
It's so bad. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing, actually. So from like a world PvP aspect, end game system, that is atrocious. Major pass on both of the end game systems in the Void Storm. I just don't care for either one of them.
I did that battleground once, and
Yeah.
I have no idea how it works.
Yeah, me neither. Truly, it's so
Zerg
awkward.
into position control.
It's so bad.
Ashran is better
Yeah, it's
than-
tough.
than that.
It's tough. All right, so moving on from the reputation zones, we'll quickly type into the reputation grinds, or not really reputation grinds, but the carry-on open world mechanics of endgame before we get into the full systems. So this will be like ritual sites, the incursion zones, and then the anglers. So what did you guys think of ritual sites and the incursion zones first?
Go
Can you
first.
define the incursion zones real quick? Because that doesn't sound familiar to me.
That's the group content open world where they had the little rotating dailies, and you had
Yeah.
to go
Oh,
and, like, fly through
I
things.
actually
Yeah.
put those in the ritual sites in the same boat, but no, you're absolutely right. They're completely different. So
yeah, the ritual site's more like the horrific visions thing, and then the other
Yeah.
the zones are sometimes rotated between Zolomon or Everson Woods. But they're part of the same patch. They can be tied together in a sense. I think ritual sites is an absolute smash. They killed
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
I think not enough people gave that enough attention to care. I think it was too easy and it should have been up to the difficulty of Horrific Visions, and I think they were kind of too scared to overtune it. But damn it, that was a fun system.
Good.
I really enjoyed that. I wish that was the Void Storm reputation grind at the beginning of the expansion. Holy crap, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, ritual sites I think are a good hit. I think they did well. Anytime you have open world stuff, it's just always going to be not as exciting. And so the incursion zones, whatever, me and my wife did them a couple times as open world content, but it got very repetitive and slow to fill a bar to get the actual incursion to happen. So I think that was kind of a miss.
Yeah.
And then you didn't even mention nightmares, the hunts, the prey hunts.
Oh, we're gonna get into hunts and delves later. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I have opinions on those.
Yeah, we'll get to those. This is just the open world stuff right now.
But yeah, ritual sites, good. Incursion zones could have been better. What was the other one?
The Anglers was also open world content that came out.
I enjoyed it for what it was, but it's literally a thing that you would just sit down in an afternoon and complete in one city.
Yeah, it is something, especially
That's what Amanda said she did.
Yeah, with my guide that I made that you can do it in a day, you can do it in a day. Like, I literally made a guide that shows how you can do that. So I thought the Anglers was perfect. I think more patch content, these mid-patch contents, need something like that. Like a day grind reputation or an over course of several weeks reputation grind, depending on how much time you want to put into it. Because if you do it in a day, it takes like 10 hours, but you can do it in a day.
I feel like a lot of these end game systems were more tests. Like the Anglers was a mechanics type test to see what they can do in the future, and that's why it wasn't fully fleshed out.
The Anglers, they actually came out and they said was made by 5 people. The entire Anglers reputation, the zone, and the mechanics and the actual idea of it was designed and developed by a team of 5 people. And I think that's phenomenal work by those 5 developers. They did a damn good job. That was one of the best systems that came out in this first season, for sure.
But I'm all for having more fun little mini games that have non-player power behind it.
Yeah.
That people like, Vic and my wife can go do to go get some new housing stuff, to go get some cosmetic things, to go do stuff like that. WoW definitely could benefit from having more mini games.
Absolutely. Totally 100% agree. Coughlin, did you do the Anglers at all?
I never touched the Anglers. Never did. Really wanted to, though, because it seemed like right up my alley. A talent tree with doing nonsensical things. I'm surprised I didn't touch it. It's just never had the motivation.
Watch my little guide and see if you're actually interested in it, because I think you would like it too.
Please watch it.
Yeah,
I
give it a go.
So much time on it.
Give it a go. It's definitely a fun mechanic. The last open world reputation grind that we had that also tied into the ritual site's reputation, because it was a level tier 8 renowned reputation track, was the 2 new zones that they implemented in 12.07. I can't even remember. Nagital and Vol.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of those?
Never touched them. Never even, I haven't even played retail.
Right. You had already took your break before they came out, right?
Right.
I know Vicky hasn't really touched them at all.
They didn't give enough reason for him to come back. So in that essence, they were kind of a failure.
Yeah. I think that's a good sense. I played them all the way through. I played them all the way through their quest campaigns, and I did do the dailies twice on both of them. I love the idea. Again, Cal's 100% hitting it on the head. These were test zones, the way that they tested the open world difficulty, where you could have a heroic world or a normal world. So this was, again, another test implementation. I think Midnight overall is going to go down as a test experiment, the way that they're doing world bosses now and everything else. They're not fully fleshing out ideas. They're kind of just trial running stuff and seeing what works and doesn't work.
Nemesis thing that they were doing?
Yeah, like we'll get into praise here, because that's also kind of like a test system. So I think that the open world difficulty is an absolute success. They need to implement that into the real open world. I wish that they did more stuff like that. I think the zones themselves were great, because they just felt like normal questing daily hubs again, where you just went to an area, you picked up some dailies, you did those dailies, you moved on. But I do believe that they weren't marketed well enough to succeed. And I wouldn't want to do them ever again after I've done them several times already. So I would pass on those again as well.
I still have a few achievements left to do. I'm almost done with them completely. I missed finishing them last week for Nigatal, whatever it is, the mushroom place. And so I have to wait until next week to finish them out.
That's
I'm almost done with the achievements.
That's one of the negatives to having a rotational situation where, hey, you're motivated to go do this thing, but it's not like necessarily in your face enough to go do it, so you miss out on opportunities to get stuff done in one sitting.
I didn't like the mushroom zone. That was a terrible zone. It was too big.
Yeah.
It was too hard to get across. The mob density was too high.
Yeah.
I also feel like the open world heroic difficulty they were testing out was great in theory. It did not work out still because tanks are still pretty much can ignore it.
Yeah.
And everyone else, it was dangerous.
Yeah, you needed a group, and I don't think that any open world content should ever require a group. I think every open world content activity should always be thought of in mind of doing it as a solo activity, either now, currently in the retail expansion, or in a future expansion to go back and grind it out later. So the fact that it wasn't designed as a solo activity, it was the heroic mode, I think was also a miss. It should have been at least tuned a little bit better, more like on the scale of like a high level delve that is somewhat hard for some classes, but it is still doable.
Yeah. Val, I liked it was smaller. It was easier to get around in it. So I did enjoy that one out of the two.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I like the direction they're headed. I just don't think they were quite there yet.
Okay. Overall, ratings on the open world endgame mechanics. Go real fast on this because we only got 15 minutes before we reach our 2-hour mark. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna say a high B, but really it's probably just like a mid or low B. I'm gonna say B overall for mid game experience, reputation, world, quest, and content. Vic?
I'm gonna say unrated because I really don't even have enough experience in any of it to really rate it.
I respect
But
that.
if I was forced to, I'd probably put it down as like a C because it couldn't even motivate me to do it.
Fair. Cal?
B, propped up by ritual sites.
Yeah, honestly, like held together by ritual sites for open world content. That shit's awesome. And Coughlin?
So by open world, because that's one of the things, because you mentioned ritual sites, but is this just the soiree reputations as well? Because I don't think we...
Yeah, this is all the reputation grinds. This is going to be the ritual sites, the Zol and Nagital Zone, and Angler's content.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a C as well. The only reason it's not a D is because of the soiree and ritual sites. The incursions were boring. They were only really good for skinning,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest. That was really it.
It's fair, totally
because
fair.
the rewards just weren't there for the incursion.
Okay, and now we'll save a different podcast day to talk about Mythic Plus Dungeons and Raid for Season 1, probably next Saturday, or we can record it on a different day next week and get that ready to go. But we'll finish up today with the Delves and Prey. Overall, the end game mechanical system that is its own pathway to end game progression is Delves and Prey. They're tied together because they're kind of like the open world tier on the Mythic Vault system. What did you think of, we'll start with Delves. What did you think of this season of Delves, since we've had Delves for quite a couple expansions now? We'll start with Coughlin.
I thought these Delves were better than Midnight's Delves.
Or you mean War Withins?
War Within, that's right.
Yeah,
thanks. So yeah, they're definitely better than War Within Delves. I will say that of the ones that I didn't like, I was meh, and those that I liked, I really liked. Let's see. Yeah, but that's really, I like that there was more. The Harandar delve with the mushroom people in the arena was perfect.
Yeah, that's a
good
good delve.
That you just wanted to just get one out of the way and have a great time doing it. And the other Harandar delve, just getting those big giant creatures so sucked up by the vines was just so good.
Yeah,
like that experience alone really made that delve.
Each delve has its own, like, I think every delve has its own charm and luster to it, which was very unique and different than the War Within. A lot of the delves felt the same in the War Within. So I like and appreciated that they added their own gimmick and mechanic and flavor to each of the delves. They each had their own storyline. My problem with the delves is they didn't matter. If you were a Mythic Plus Dungeoner or a Raider, at a certain point, you needed to do delves for crests at the very beginning of the season, but after a certain point, you no longer needed to do them at all.
Yeah,
It made
true.
less sense to do a delve to get crests than it made to do just a mythic plus 10 to get crests. You could do them faster, you get better rewards, especially when bonus rolls came out. I didn't do delves anymore at all once bonus rolls came out. There was no reason to.
But I guess that really highlights that, doesn't it? Because I felt like like I said, the delves in this expansion were better than last expansion, but I did do more delves last expansion because
a lot
Agreed.
more
more.
of a reason to.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Even though I had more
Agreed.
fun.
The delve system was way better fleshed out when it came to gearing and motivational in the War Within, and they were just fun enough to where I didn't mind doing them every week. I did delves, all 4 bountifuls, all 8 bountifuls, I think, in the War Within, every single week. Like I never missed it one time. And I guarantee you I haven't hit that 4 bountiful delve mark since probably week 3 of the expansion.
I probably have like 60 keys in my guy.
Yeah, like we could probably count the amount of keys that we have to see how many
But
we
do you
did.
think that's why? Like, if you don't,
Yeah,
if
there
you're not
was-
going to do it because there wasn't anything to motivate you to do it?
I think
They
I
had no
loved...
reward system.
Right,
This one either. Like, if you look at the rewards from the vendor, there's like nothing there.
That's all like best
even
in
if
slot,
you did
yeah.
all that stuff, yeah.
I think that they really went overboard on the gearing process in the War Within to where you could honestly just completely get mythic tier gear from delves in the War Within, so there was honestly very little reason. Excuse me, there's very little reason to do other things where they wanted to dial that back, and they obviously made a massive emphasis to make the raid and the mythic plus system way more important for endgame progression in gearing. So delves definitely took a major backseat this expansion, and I think that's bad. I think Vicky and a couple other players that play super casually would have had a better endgame experience and would have even tried other mechanics. She would have done the daily, she would have done the world quests if she was being told to go to the zones every single day to do the delves. If the delves meant enough for me to be motivated to do them, to tag her along. Because a lot of the times in the War Within, I'd be like, hey, I have to do my delves, do you want to come? And she'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Because it was content that she could join me in. And this season, I just never wanted to do them, so I didn't ever have the extra motivational factor for Vic to go do them, and she was never self-motivated to go do them because there was no real reason for her to do them at the end of the day. Like, it just felt like they needed... It's scary to allow people
But
to
see,
get
that's actually
max
really
level
funny
with
that you say
delves,
that,
but it's
though.
also important for that mechanic to exist. If you want it to exist, it needs to have that level. Truly.
But see, I also feel kind of like the thing you just said really did trigger for me because, like, when time walking is out, like, I'm like, oh yeah, let's get on. I'll do time walkings with you.
Right.
Like, you could have said that at any point today. This expansion. You know what I mean?
But I just
Because-
didn't care to because delves were so pointless. It's tough. It's tough realization, but at the end of the day, they needed to make the rewards better. And it's scary to say that because it's like, do we like that delves were not so rewarding, or do we like that delves are as rewarding?
All right, my opinion. So I think it's a good thing that they were not required because they would have added one more system that we had to log in and do every week. And I think that was the whole point of delves,
Yeah.
is to make it so that it was not a required thing for people that were already doing Mythic Plus and were already doing rating.
Right.
So that's why I didn't have to
It's
do a
supposed to be
ton of them.
instead of. It was supposed to be for
Yes.
instead of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And so like my wife still did some delves every week until she got all the, furniture stuff that she wanted out of it. Then she
Mhm.
kind of just dropped it. And she's
Right.
sitting at like heroic geared on her
Yeah.
character. And she's happy with that because she's not doing any kind of end game content.
Yeah. No, that's
and
good.
so for people like her, it worked the same way as it did for the War Within. I think it's fine that they took away of really kind of gearing for Mythic Plus people to have to be required to go do delves. And it freed it up, so I only did them if I really wanted to, or if I wanted to, like you said, I wanted to do content with her. So
I think that's awesome. I agree. I believe at the end of the day, delves are a secondary way for people, or a different avenue for people to play the game if they have other ambitions than doing Mythic Plus or Raid, or they're a solo player. You can do delves as a solo player and get a lot out of this game if you want to, without ever even having to talk to another person. And I believe that's what they want it to be designed as. It's just a very different feeling from the War Within. So I think when we get a couple patches in, it'll find its home and it'll make a lot more sense to the community. But as it currently stands to where we went from the War Within to now, it just feels like we have delve withdrawal. And it feels like the system feels bad because of that.
I feel like I enjoyed them more, mainly because I was so burnt out on Brand Bronzebeard. Oh my goodness.
True. I love Valera. Valera is an amazing companion.
Yes.
I do wish that they committed, like they said what they were going to do at the beginning of the War Thin, with a different one every patch. And then they kind of stumbled back on that when the Undermine got released. Because I think it'd be really cool to get a different companion to get to level 50 every single patch, rather than just 10 levels after each patch came out like they did in the War Thin. So that's a shame. It will be nice to have Valera for the rest of the expansion. But moving on to Praise. What did you guys think about Praise overall?
One thing real quick before we swap. I know you need to finish up, but we didn't talk about the Delve boss.
Oh yeah,
and
Nemesis.
I will say,
let's talk about the Nemesis. That's a great point.
Yeah, the Delve boss was good. I liked the flavor of it. I liked the way he was done. I don't think the balancing was quite there for the question mark difficulty, because tanks had a lot harder time than healers and DPS because of the way they tried to balance it.
Yeah,
but
healers
I think that they're in a good
it.
direction, and I'm excited for the next one that's coming out next week.
I agree. Yeah, the Nemesis was very fun. It wasn't insane like Kaiveza or any of the Nemesises truly were in the War Thin. Like the Nemesis was doable by probably way more people this season than in the War Thin.
Yeah.
I think more people got the Nemesis question mark, let me solo her than in any previous patch. So overall, the balancing there, like they did figure it out, and I think it was well tuned. It was fun. I got it done in the first 2 weeks. I'm gonna get this Nemesis on the next expansion, next patch, probably done in the first week. So hopefully they can still find a way to make them an interesting enough fight to take a couple pulls. Like I don't mind that Kaiveza took me like 60 pulls. I think that's awesome. I wish that they would continue with that type of difficulty, make it more like a mage tower, but I can understand that they did it well. And I do like his fight. His fight was fun. Coughlin, any notes on the Nemesis?
I don't remember anything about this boss. I don't even know if I killed it.
You probably didn't.
Yeah, Vic, I know that I carried you through with Hippie. I killed it. You guys both died, and then I killed the boss afterwards. Did you enjoy that type of mechanic? The Nemesis fight, babe? Vic?
Yeah, I didn't even do it. I'm sorry. You must have not heard me. I didn't do it, so I don't.
You did get it done, but you got carried through it. So it's like, what's that perspective like? Did you enjoy that you had to get carried through it, or do you think it should have been easier for you to do on your own?
Easier is maybe the wrong word. More enjoyable to do at a lower level, maybe, or just at a. I don't want to constantly feel like there's parts of this game that are just like not made for me because I don't play at the level you guys do.
Yeah, that's true. And I believe that they should make the Nemesis a weekly reward. You should kill the Nemesis, and if you kill him on the regular one, you get hero crests. You kill him on the second one, you get myth crests. Whatever it would be. And then you're motivated to kill it each week. I think that would be
progressively
cool.
more difficult the more you do it.
You get it every time you kill him?
You get myth crest when you kill him, yeah.
Or is that just the one-time reward?
No, as far as I remember, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty positive that every week if you kill the question mark, you get like a few mythic crests. You don't get a ton, but you get a few, yeah.
Interesting.
But that's also
I didn't know that either.
To say that when people say there's not enough content, there's plenty of content. It's just not the content you want to be doing.
Always.
Correct.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
All right, so overall Delves rating for the season. Let's go quickly through this. I'm gonna say A tier. I think they're well designed. They're fun. I just wish the rewards were more rewarding. Cal?
Yeah, I'm also gonna go A.
Okay. 3 A's, Cal?
Yeah, I'd go A+. Yep.
Yeah, good elves, not bad. All right, praise system, the completely unique leveling up system or end game system progression for going out into the world, potentially motivating you to do other things while you're out in the world, but it ended up turning into clicking on traps, killing the boss, and moving on. What do you think they should have done better? How did you enjoy it overall? And would you smash or patch the system and hope that it sticks around into the next expansion, or do you want it to fade away with Midnight Forever?
Well, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
I think that it should have been more of a system that they could have implemented PvP for. Like you get tasked as a bounty for other people who play PvP instead of it being an NPC.
Interesting.
Two things. One, that person could just not be online, and then your stuff is...
Yeah, I don't know how they would get it to work, Coughlin.
But
I'm just
it
saying...
technically already exists.
Yeah, like that. You're talking about the assassin system, but integrating it into that, instead of being a specific person, I could see it being like kill 3 players on PvP difficulty and you would have gotten PvP rewards as well as the PvE reputation for it. That could have been
Yeah,
interesting.
sure.
Right, because
Or
that
just
was
like kill
only
a bountied person.
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Someone who's also on the bounty. Yeah, like it's almost like just finding someone on war mode and killing someone on war mode. But I just think that there's a way that they could have implemented it to being a little bit more high risk, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, PvE
Oh, no,
versus
no, for
PvP.
sure.
Yeah, there's definitely something that they could do with it with PvP. They want it to be a PvE system, and I think overall, what they did with Vol and Najatal being heroic world difficulty and not, and Prey having its own difficulties, they're definitely teetering with this Diablo style. You choose what torment level you want to be on in World of Warcraft, and we're going to get to that eventually, I think, but they're definitely testing that with Prey, and they're definitely testing that with the way that the world system worked in those 2 zones. So with that all said, I think Prey is a great prelude to what's to come. I had really no qualms about it outside of they just never underbalanced the skip mechanic. Generally, when a skip mechanic comes out, Blizzard's pretty quick to go, you no longer can do that, do it the way we want you to do it. And they just didn't care. They totally abandoned that and let it still be click 5 traps, go kill the boss, move on. And I wonder why they didn't balance it to fix it. Cal, you got anything to add?
I have a little bit to say about Prey. I actually really enjoyed it when it first came out, but it got old really fast.
Yeah.
Mainly, it felt super doable, not that difficult, not that crazy. When I'm on my Brewmaster, of course, I understand tank, open world are always going to be kings. Trying to do it on any of my other like normal DPS characters was a whole different thing, especially if you can't heal yourself.
When it first came out, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I got really tired of him constantly telling me to kill something now while I'm flying through a zone, or if I'm doing a daily quest that requires me to be in a vehicle. So there's a lot of polish they could have done, and I think they're actually getting rid of that affix next season, if I read correctly.
Okay, good.
So that's a good thing. The gearing I think was good. I think it was a good start, like you said.
Yeah.
But I think what they need to do, and what I would suggest going forward, was that they should make it so it's more like a Nemesis type system.
Yeah.
Where you choose who is going to be your Nemesis for the week, and your entire time you're out in the open world for the entire week, you're in danger of getting jumped. And every time you overcome that jumping, you get, currency, rep, rewards, whatever it is.
I think that's
so
actually such a good idea.
Yeah, instead of having to go and pick up the quest and go out and turn it in and teleport back, pick up a quest, it became so like, oh, this is just a chore that I'm doing.
Yeah.
For open world, it should be okay. I want a nightmare nemesis this week, and they say, okay, well, the nightmare nemesis this week is going to be this person, and no matter what zone you go in, they're tracking you down.
Yeah, I agree. I think that actually would have added a lot to it. I think that they had too many variants. There should have only been 6 different types of nemesises that they could have really defined with really interesting mechanics, and it should have been a week-long activity. I totally agree with that. That's such an interesting perspective on that. Coughlin, what do you think?
One more thing.
No, I
sorry.
Go for it, Cal.
One more thing. Oh my gosh, I just completely forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead, Coughlin.
Okay. Well, no. That actually makes a lot more sense with it being called Prey, because they wanted to call it Predator, for sure. They just were like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't call this Predator. So they went away from that. But I did get really old because I went off of the achievements because I thought it was going to be in rotation, and I had to do every single one every single week in order to get that, only to find out at the end that you'll be able to build your own. Really ruined a lot of it for me and burned. I would have to say, if anything burned me out of the game, it was the prey system.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it, but then it burned me out hard. That's probably why I never did anglers, because all my world time was spent doing every single prey, even though the diminishing returns were
to go in hand with the achievements. There's too many variants. You have to kill each of the 20 different prey targets on every difficulty, when if you kill it on nightmare, you should just get progress on the other ones. That's kind of a weak system.
That's what I was going to say, that I forgot what I was going to say, was that my complaint was with the achievements, was that I had to do them on each difficulty, which was just stupid.
so time consuming, so tedious. Overall, I'm hopeful for Prey. I hope it can evolve into a system that we get to keep, but I would not be surprised if we don't see it after midnight.
That's fair. It could be the war
Yeah.
fronts of this expansion.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
that would be a shame because I do think that it has a lot of potential and it could be really good. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up. Finalized thoughts overall on praise. Anything that anyone else have anything they got one to add to it?
I've done one.
Vicky, you've done one prey. Why didn't you do prey? I'm interested in why you weren't motivated to do it because there's so
Honestly,
many cool
I died
collectibles
a
with
lot
it.
to it. I died a lot to it. I was the kind of person who, once I got the quest, it would be in my quest log, and then I'd forget that it was there, and then I would die from the guy. And I wouldn't like you said you got sick of the guy telling you to kill someone, and I don't know if I had that part of my sound turned off or what, but I honestly wasn't ever prompted to go kill anyone.
You never
That's
did a
'cause you
nightmare
weren't
version.
Nightmare.
Yeah, you always did a hard mode, which nightmare was the one where that affix turned on.
Oh, okay, so that
Not
makes
of innocent
okay, so that makes sense. I
capybara.
never got the note, but maybe I should have been playing on nightmare mode because then I would have been able to like be more prepared for it.
Mhm.
Because there was one time that I went AFK and then I was all of a sudden dead, and I'm like, I'm not on war mode, but my
Right.
nemesis must have been in the area
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
killed you. Yeah, they do
And
that.
so, and truthfully, I'm not gonna lie, like if I didn't kill the guy within a certain amount of time, I wish it would have like reset the quest or something, because then I would go check on the guy and he's like, there's still someone out there for you to kill, and I was like, but where is this guy? Like, how do I know where to? I didn't even know what the quest was called. Like, it just felt very flushed out, and like it could have been a really cool system for me to be like so dedicated to and cared so much about. But even like having to touch the crystal to get to the guy to get the quest, just to find out that I already had the quest, would piss me off.
And not a
So, like,
crystal
I
to
have
get
to go
back.
do another
Can we
prey.
talk about that? Why is there not a crystal
Yeah.
that
You do.
summons you back
You
out?
could
It's a
just
portal.
run out.
Yeah, you can.
No, when you click the portal to go down and get the quest, you have to walk out. There's not an
Oh.
orb of
Oh, I
translocation
thought
by
you were
him
talking about
that sends you
summoning.
back out.
You get the crystal.
Yeah,
like, to summon the person with the crystal, and then you have the portal to go.
I
back.
liked the
thought
portal
that's
getting
what-
back, but no, I'm talking about like when you just go pick it up, use the orb of translocation outside of the inn to go down there, but then there's not one to send you back up, and that was frustrating alone.
That is.
I just rolled twice and went down the hallway. It
I
was-
always
I
use
agree.
Cheetah,
I
but
didn't
it's
have
just
this
so
issue.
dumb that we had to, you know what I mean? All
But
right,
no.
we
Nick
got
actually gave a great suggestion though to improve Prey, and that's a quest timer.
yeah, I
Like
agree.
a 30-minute quest timer on there would be.
Because then I could have just
Would
went and
improve
picked
it a
up a
whole
different
bunch.
one and
It
started the
would've-
process.
It would have made sense for the system that they made, but I do believe that they should have done what Cal suggested, which is make it a week-long activity. So because it was an activity that you are supposed to go fix or pick up and then immediately fixate and finish before you do anything else, instead of just an overarching difficulty increase, which is what it was probably designed as and they just didn't get fully fleshed out of. If they're going to keep it the system that it is, a timer would help motivate people to fixate it and get it done. And then when they do want to go do their praise, they know that they're going to go just do their praise. But if they want to do it more like a world difficulty system like Cal, then the timer would be absolutely counterintuitive to that point.
Yeah,
it depends on
it
how they
should-
want
it
to take the
shouldn't be-
direction.
Right.
It shouldn't be quest based. It should be toggle based, like you toggle on war mode.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. I think that would be so fun. All right, that's going to be it for our first podcast back. Thank you so much for checking this one out. Please make sure you go follow all of our socials. All will be in the links in the description below. Go watch all of our YouTube videos that we talked about earlier today. And please go check out our merchandise store on linktree.com/redthedeer or streamlabs.com/redthedeer to pick up your August trading post. We'll be posting each of these podcasts once a week. We'll be recording them on the weekends. And if you ever want to catch them live, we do stream them live. So thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate all the Slayers coming out and saying hi. But that is going to be it for this first podcast. So we'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much. Slayers out.